Flame suit, French letter, and my girl bad. Gatekeeper says open, I ain't coming back. 15-minute TED Talk, collecting 40 rags. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math.
Do the math, bitch, do the math. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math. Do the math, bitch, do the math. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math.
Did the math, I'm baby Johnny Cash. My girl gon' throw it back, that my life is cinemax. Holy hell, this max. I make hits and you make trash. I'm on vacay, do not ask. Poolside eating Apple Jacks. Shut up, bitch. Shut up. Big deal like TJ Maxx. Pop some cataracts. Watch a naughty tag. Nick Cage, how I act. Heavily dislike tax. Got some aces on my feet, never wear a mask. I'm in the cut like a wound. Wake your ass up, make some room. And my girl, coming soon. I won't fuck with honeymoons. Throw some money on my tune. Finesse too hard, I'm feeling Girls love me, they want a spoon. Let me finish, I'll resume. Flame suit, French letter, and my girl bad. Gatekeeper says open, I ain't coming back. 15-minute TED Talk, collecting 40 rags. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math.
Do the math, bitch, do the math. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math.
Do the math, bitch, do the math. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math. I just curved cameo, she said I'm a Romeo. She gon' spit me up and lit me up like Oreo. First global book deal, sell that shit to Indigo. Getting money since I was an itty bitty embryo. Save my money when I die for the fan. Always make a sale, cat to Moran. Shawty tryna play some games where I don't play Catan. I'm a plug, she an outlet, cut up Mr. Middleman. Yeah, I got assets, she wants to come see. Yeah, only speak the truth, hyperbole. Goddamn, I sound good on this beach. Extraterrestrial ET, flame suit, French letter, and my girl bad. Gatekeeper says open, I ain't coming back. 15-minute TED Talk, collecting 40 rags. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math.
Do the math, bitch, do the math. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math. Do the math, bitch, do the math. 1 million paid in tax, bitch, do the math. Do the math, bitch, do the math.
Shorty mad cause now I'm popping, ain't no way that I can stop it. Spread my wings and now I'm flying, hit the slide and now I'm gliding. They so shocked that I didn't find it, how they not know what the time is when I've been on my go talk. Rappers want my feature but they always tryna lowball. I done picked it up just like a phone call. Wonder why I'm hot, got a cold heart. And I'm on it go, whoa, 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 whoa. I go paint the picture like Mozart. I've been on my go talk. Lately how I'm coming, I got no flaws. They don't wanna stop me but I won't pause. The flow like the go wall. I know that they wanting what I got, let them rock, yeah. I tell them go get it when it's hot, don't stop, yeah. I've been down 10 since the drop. I've been heating up, I'm getting hot, got a pot, yeah. I'm gon' be a millionaire, I've been going silly, yeah. Top won't be the ceiling for me, thought that I'ma see you there. Mad that I ain't got the bag, it's alright, I never care. I'm gon' get the last laugh, you won't see me everywhere. They just mad to see that I could really be about it. All these rats and these racks, they see I be stylish. Started at the bottom, now the boy is on the rising. Haters going silent, ain't no one can stop it. I've been on my go talk. Rappers want my feature, but they always tryna lowball. I done picked it up just like a phone call. Wonder why I'm hot, got a cold heart. And I'm on it go, whoa, 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 whoa. I go paint the picture like Mozart. I've been on my go talk. Lately how I'm coming, I got no flaws. They don't wanna stop me, but I won't pause. The flow like the go wall.
The new one is here. Your friends will love it. The hot new artist uses it, and it'll make you move. The new one is a vibe.
Wait, I just had my first pink. I ain't have a job in 2 years, it was way harder than you think. Never thought I'd be the one to make it happen, I thought I would just sing. Funny how things change, not a girl I wanna really wanna link. Wait, everything 180, huh? Next stop a Mercedes, huh? Why my ego inflated? Cause old haters outdated. And to all the girls I dated, I'm really sorry I made it. And we can't even have a conversation anymore, my number's not the same. Damn, I'm on the same bullshit like a matador. And the VA sound like a dinosaur. Pretty little bitch that I ignore. She wanna get nailed to a 2x4. Everybody say they wanna see me score, but these days I don't really know no more. Hey, motherfuckers really hurt my core. If I keep going cool, they gon' pull my core. I'm on the same bullshit like a matador. And the VA sound like a dinosaur. Pretty little bitch that I ignore. She wanna get nailed to a 2x4. Everybody say they wanna see me score, but these days I don't really know no more. Hey, motherfuckers really hurt my core. If I keep going cool, they gon' pull my core. And that's why I don't really got no friends. Circle same size since I don't know when. And I don't really know who want me to win, but that's the result of the city I'm in. I work like a slave, trying to get everyone paid. I want everything like Tim. What do I say? I just wanna pull up in the rave, make a car dash like Kim. Smile on her face, she can't wait till I get paid. I'ma take her far from her sins. Everything changed, it's a bigger picture in the frame. I ain't never looked back since. Said she want a steak, we already went to every place, so I had to take her out the crib. Incredible taste, but it won't last longer than a date. Because I'm on the same bullshit like a matador. And the VA sound like a dinosaur. Pretty little bitch that I ignore. She wanna get nailed to a 2x4. Everybody say they wanna see me score, but these days I don't really know no more. Hey, motherfuckers really hurt my core. If I keep going cool, they gon' pull my core. I'm on the same bullshit like a matador. And the VA sound like a dinosaur. Pretty little bitch that I ignore. She wanna get nailed to a 2x4. Everybody say they wanna see me score, but these days I don't really know no more. Hey, motherfuckers really hurt my core. If I keep going cool, they gon' pull my core.
I stay on my cell phone, trying to block you out. Wonder why you're still here, get out of my house. Keep touching on me, I'm a lot of rounds. Guess I'll go one more, only if you bounce. I don't mean to be rude, I'm just being honest. You asked for the truth, I can't make a promise. We could be through, but you don't wanna stop this. Love is the rules, can't find one true. It's getting late, I said too much. Look at me strange, I'll be too blunt. I'm easy to hate, I'm hard to love. But you love me anyway, or is it lust? It's getting late, I said too much. Look at me strange, I'll be too blunt. I'm easy to hate, I'm hard to love. But you love me anyway, or is it lust? Said I'd be in bed, I'm wide awake. Tracing my steps, get my new mistakes. We had a drink, but one turn date, yeah. I call it fun, why'd you say it was fate? I don't mean to be rude, I'm just being honest. You asked for the truth, I can't make a promise. We could be through, but you don't wanna stop this. Love is the rules, can't find one true. It's getting late, I said too much. Look at me strange, I'll be too blunt. I'm easy to hate, I'm hard to love. But you love me anyway, or is it lust? It's getting late, I said too much. Look at me strange, I'll be too blunt. I'm easy to hate, I'm hard to love. But you love me anyway, or is it lust? I'll be too blunt. I'm easy to hate, I'm hard to love. Why you love me anyway, or is it lies? It's getting late, I said too much. Look at me strange, I be too blunt. I'm easy to hate, I'm hard to love. Why you love me anyway, or is it lies? You murder me, atom bomb. You're on the run, baby, but you cannot hide. You daydream, I'm a homicide. You cut my heart, baby, like a samurai. I have sex to block the rage. You have sex to feel the pain. We're not the same, we're opposites. The pit inside your soul is fucking bottomless. And kill me slow, I wanna feel it. Blade so sharp, can cut steel with it. Blood runs red, it's romantic. Left a score, no one wronged it. You murder me, atom bomb. You're on the run, baby, but you cannot hide. You daydream, I'm a homicide. You cut my heart, baby, like a samurai. You murder me, atom bomb. You're on the run, baby, but you cannot hide. You daydream, I'm a homicide. You cut my heart, baby, like a samurai. You want it, you got it. You hurt me, I'm dying. Look what you started. Love to be violent. Heart on the table, it's turning black. Left me for dead, you know I'm turning back. Kill me slow, I wanna feel it. Blade so sharp, you cut steel with it. Blood runs red, it's romantic. Left a score, no one wronged it. You murder me, atom bomb. You're on the run, baby, but you cannot hide. You daydream, I'm a homicide. You cut my heart, baby, like a samurai. You murder me, atom bomb. You're on the run, baby, but you cannot hide. You daydream, I'm a homicide. You cut my heart, baby, like a samurai.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Brian Mansell Show. As always, I am your host, Brian Mansell. I'm a sports media professional, been working in the industry for a couple years now, and I got a podcast, or a vodcast, whatever you want to call it, known as the Brian Mansell Show. We have 16 followers looking to make it to 20. We need 4 more today to help us reach that goal, so please, guys, any kind of follow here on Twitch would really help us reach that goal and help this channel grow on Twitch exponentially. As for YouTube, if you're watching this there, please consider subscribing. We've got some big content working on. I've already taped and recorded part 1 of a new series I'm working on, the Imperialism series. Part 1's already been filmed. We're working on part 2 next. Once I get about the next 2 parts finished, then I will start uploading them to the channel. We're going to do them every Monday and Friday. So keep an eye out this Monday. I mean it, this Monday, for the first episode. It will be coming out for college football imperialism. Keep an eye out for that. But today, we have to talk about the most important stuff. And to me, the most important thing to talk about here is the Yankee media interviews. I don't even know where to begin. I've heard a couple clips, but I haven't been able to listen to the whole thing. And from what I heard, it's got a lot of fans questioning whether or not they should continue to be Yankee fans. And if it's that bad, then I may have to give this thing a listen. That's how I feel right now. As for the ticker below with all the information, I'm still updating it right now as we're talking. So I'm trying to get it up to speed, which right now it's not even close to up to speed. I'm trying to get all the hockey matchups listed here. But as of right now, like I said, we're going to dissect the Yankee media interviews. We're going to do a Thursday Night Football preview. Tonight is probably one of the most disgusting matchups of the year. It is the Panthers and the Bears. I don't think anybody wants to watch this, but We have to cover it regardless. Maybe some lines to check on for betting. If you guys are going to bet on the game, I'll give you guys a couple things to look at. Let's add in there as well. I mean, if you guys are going to bet on the game, let's see if we can get something on DJ Moore, a couple props. I think he'll get some attention from Tyson Bagent. And let's also add into that, we're going to be talking about a little bit of hockey today. Edmonton Oilers put their goalie, Jack Campbell, on waivers. That massive contract he signed has actually turned out to be absolutely terrible. He has been abysmal, and now they decided to cut ties early now, about 12 games into the year, and have fired him and put him on waivers. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. We're going to talk more about why that happened and possible destinations for Campbell now that he's on waivers. And we'll close out with some more MLB. We'll do some manager updates. A lot of free agency moves have started. Some conversations have begun. So, before we get started, again, like I said, if you guys watch this on YouTube, please consider subscribing. We've got some things coming out in the works soon to really make some more awesome content here on the channel. So please keep an eye out for that. It really helps us out a lot. And as for the Twitch, please consider following. We don't do subscriptions yet. We want to stick to doing following for the moment. Build up the audience a little bit before we even consider doing subs. So again, thank you guys so much for all your support. And with that, let's get started. Let me continue working on the ticker as we talk about this. So, while I'm working on the ticker, let's talk a bit about what we've seen with these Yankees, right? The Yankees are a fascinating organization. Not in the sense of like, oh, like there's a mystery around how so good they are or how they've been so good for so long. It's been more about how things are run in there. And I can't tell you guys how it's run because really I don't even know myself. And that's what's been fortunate for them is that nobody really has an inside view on how they do things in there. And that's what gives them a heavy advantage over other teams. Because the media is able to infiltrate and be able to come up with storylines and build what they want to make it what they want it to be, to tell maybe a false narrative or a true narrative. This is something they have that potential to do. In this case with the Yankees, every little word is scrutinized and watched. I mean that so seriously. There isn't a way where you could sit there and be like, what we're hearing from inside is that Hal Steinbrenner doesn't like baseball. Or, we're hearing from inside that Brian Cashman's on the hot seat. Like, you don't hear those things because it's always kept so private and under wraps. The Yankees are very good at that. So I give them a lot of credit there. Their PR department does a great job. Now, here's the other thing, though. It doesn't mean they don't make bad decisions. And we're definitely going to go over that. But, because every team makes bad decisions. And it's only right to own the fact that you make bad decisions, right? It's normal for teams to come out and say, we made a mistake. But the Yankees aren't like that, which bothers me a lot. Although not everybody on the Yankees is like that, as you'll see in this press conference interview that they did. It's pretty shocking. Imagine reading back and seeing a general manager and owner not on the same side on things. And on top of that, your GM's also president of baseball ops. Imagine both of them aren't on the same page on things, and it feels like the president and GM have more knowledge of what's going on, have more control of what's going on than the actual owner of the team. That's all I'm going to say. You'll see what I mean when we get into the clips. But I'm adding more stuff here. I'll read you guys some of the stuff on the ticker tonight. Not much NBA action. You're going to have a Milwaukee Bucks game tonight on NBA TV against the Pacers. Bucks been struggling a little bit, and the Pacers have been doing really well. Very well themselves. As for the other basketball game tonight, you do have Atlanta and Orlando, 9:30 Eastern on NBA TV as well. Both teams at 4-3. Orlando got off to a nice start, starting to cool off a little bit. Let's see if they can get back hot again and take down the Hawks. And hockey right now, you guys are seeing me updated live. I'm still working on getting some of the games together. Tampa Bay plays Chicago tonight. Their record's very weird. It's like a 6-3-4, something like that. I think that's what their record is. I think Tampa's like 6-3-4. Yep. It's such an interesting scenario with all these teams, just reading back and seeing how good or bad they've been. One of the surprising interests has been Chicago, those Blackhawks, man. They've been pretty good. Now, let me add in here real quick that with the Yankees, I want it to be known that I've been a lifelong Yankee fan, lifetime. And that's never going to change. I want to make that clear now. But this team has a good habit of making fans question their fandom. And me especially, they make me question it every day. They make poor personnel decisions that make you just question yourself on, do they really care about the team? Which is hysterical, because you didn't think you'd be saying that about a ownership not caring about a team. You didn't think you'd be asking that question. Well, realistically, we are. We're at this point now. And that's a scary point to be at. And with this team, I want it to be known, I love this team. This is the first sports team I ever really followed and loved as a kid, was baseball. And I was always watching them growing up, watching A-Rod with Damon, Melky Cabrera, all these guys getting their turns up here, Robbie Cano, Jorge Posada, Phil Hughes, Carl Pavano. I watched all those guys play for this team. And I mean everybody. Even Jabba and Phil Koch, and I can name so many Yankees. And, you know, we even went through some interesting times with Lyle Overbay being one of them. Brandon Laird for a little bit. I mean, with questionable positions too. Like we had Vernon Wells at one point. So, you know, we went through some interesting points in our franchise's history. And for me, I come back and I look at everything and I say, well, I could justify some of these decisions, but we weren't really a major playoff competitor that year. And when you go back and look at how ownership ran things then, it was a little bit more different. And there's been a debate now about, are they analytically driven or not? You know, is analytics really driving their decisions as much? And, you know, Cashman and Hal got into that a bit, and they went into detail, which I thought was very interesting, because they came off as, you know, well, we don't really focus on analytics that much. It's not as a driving force in us. But they didn't also outright say, you know, we don't use it and it doesn't have as much say in our decisions. They said it doesn't run. They said specifically, we are not run by analytics. He says it's an important spoke in our wheel, just like it is for other teams. Meaning it's like a crutch. But it doesn't mean it doesn't have a heavy, intense role in what they do. You can say it's a spoke in a wheel, but guess what? You take that spoke out of the wheel and the wheel falls apart. And now you got a cart that's not working. So, if he understands the analogy he used, I'm sorry, but you basically said it's a primary piece in creating this strong team that you want. Which, again, I have nothing wrong with you saying it, but trying to act like it isn't important and deflecting, that annoys me. So we'll go through it all once I finish up this thing. This takes a bit. Again, the ticker is not something that is automatically updating. This is all manually done, so I'm manually typing everything in at this moment. So I apologize if we're taking forever. I'm trying to move as fast as I can. It's not easy to manually input everything here because I have to use league sites in order to get the proper TV broadcaster. Because if you guys want to watch the sports games, I want to make sure you guys know where they are. So this Arizona St. Louis tonight at 8 o'clock. Bally Sports Mountain West. And Scripps. Scripps Network. Okay, cool. I covered that. Perfect. I wanted to make sure I wasn't wrong. Yeah, we're good. Okay. And Scripps. Wait, why did I do that? There we go. Backslash. Let's add in here the Predators and Jets next. Predators haven't been too bad this year, actually. 5-7-0. Not too bad. To start. We'll see if they fix that up a little bit, but not a bad start for Nashville. The Winnipeg Jets, they're playing tonight. I think they're 6-4-2. Ooh, that's what I read. 6-4-2. Yeah, and they're on Bally Sports South at 8 p.m. Okay. Okay, so that's that with Nashville and Winnipeg. Again, I'm still working on getting this thing done. This is not an easy task. This takes forever. Forever to do. Seattle and Colorado at 9 o'clock. We're on our last 3 games, and then we'll go into the clips. That's where we'll take care of it. 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern, Seattle and Colorado. Seattle not actually having a great start this year in hockey. They're 4-6-3 after being a team who made to the Western Conference Final last year. Not a hot start you're looking for. Colorado, on the other hand, looking real strong early. 8-3-0. Looking like a real threat right now to come out of the West this year. Get back to glory. Seattle, Colorado, that'll be on Altitude Network and Route Northwest. Again, these are all just local networks that I'm putting in. These aren't the actual networks that you might be able to get on your TV, for example. These are networks that are all over the place. And then 2 10:30 games. We got Penguins and Kings tonight, which the Penguins are just, what is going on with them? They look absolutely terrible. I feel so bad for them, but I also don't at the same time because it's the Penguins, and the Penguins get away with a lot. They've had a lot of success, so I don't really feel bad for them. The LA Kings, 8-2-2. Let's see. Bally Sports West, Sportsnet Philly. Pittsburgh. So 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That'll be on, once again, Bally Sports West and what was it? Sportsnet Pittsburgh. That's like that's basically whatever. It's like AT&T Sportsnet. That's what it is. Like, it's not just called Sportsnet. It's AT&T Sportsnet. It's their specific brand of channel. And there is an NFL game. I'm not going to put that in the ticker because it's kind of obvious who it is tonight, and it's only one, so we'll take care of that. And then 10:30 Eastern Time is Oilers and Sharks. Oilers are another team. What is going on with them? They're 2-8-1 at this point. I'm very stunned to be saying that. And then they got San Jose, who just won their first game not too long ago. And they were on a bad losing streak, really bad. Let's see if they get back actually on to get their skates under them and finally get things going. That's an ESPN Plus game tonight. And Hulu if you have it. Okay, and that should be it. All right, perfect. The ticker's been fully updated, guys. Don't worry about it. We finally took care of it. Now we can go into the Yankee clips. I very much apologize for that. Apparently it doesn't automatically update, so I have to punch in everything manually to make sure this thing works. So let's go ahead and let's start pulling up some clips. So the Yankees had their conversations. We're in the middle of meetings right now with ownerships and GMs all having their meetings, like they do at the end of every offseason. And free agency's already opened up. So they're talking and they're making conversations, and this is prime time for where networks get interviews, and SNY was very heavily involved in getting the footage, which I'm very happy with because we got some really good footage of interviews with Hal Steinbrenner and Brian Cashman, which I'm warning you now, I saw a couple of them. They're going to piss you off. They're going to piss you off. If you're a Yankee fan and you follow NYY Underground, they've definitely covered about this and did live reactions to this. I got to tell you, if they were enraged and pissed and questioning their fandom, as if nothing's ever going to change, this would be one of them as well. So we're going to start here. And I'm going to start with Hal Steinbrenner's interviews first. He started off because he was the first one to go, not Cashman. So I will show you guys this first. As we go to the highlights scene again, as you guys know, this very famous window is where we pull up the YouTube videos all the time. So let me go into the YouTube window, make sure that we are loaded up. We have our Yankee clips here. So let's start with the first one, shall we?
Their years in the industry of
this first one is regarding the Yankees and we'll start actually down here. This is the first one. Jack Curry of the Yes Network asks him a question. This is about the conversations in the offseason, including about Boone's future as the manager of the team and the inner works of this organization.
questions that I asked.
So let's start from here.
I was wondering if you could specify what were those tough questions that you asked and who did you ask them to?
Well, I've asked a lot of questions. I wouldn't even know where to begin. But obviously the first questions that I asked had to do with, should Aaron Boone be our manager next year? I believe, based on a lot of things, that he's a good manager, but I didn't want to take my opinion this time around. I wanted to talk to a number of people, which I did. I talked to players, talked to some ex-players like Pettit, Swisher, who spent a lot of time in the clubhouse this year. Talked to Sabian, Omar, and others. And without giving them my opinion on the call, they all came to the same conclusion, which is Aaron is a good manager and he should be our manager in 2024. So that was certainly the first big question, the first big decision I needed to make. What other questions have I asked? Many, 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 starting with what goes on in New York, what goes on with the Major League Club, obviously all the way down to where I'm at right now at the Himes Complex and what we're doing in the minor league levels.
Okay, so let's talk about this first clip first. This first clip, he made it so with Boone. What I'm trying to understand here is Boone wasn't fired because you didn't go off your opinion, which your opinion probably would have kept him. You let your players and your personnel decide because they're the ones who see him every day, interact with him every day. He controls the team on the field and the product on the field because he has to get them to shape and get them to perform. And an 82-80 season from last year isn't a well-performing team, although Brian Cashman will tell you otherwise. But we'll worry about Cashman in a sec. He looks very out of touch. I'll explain why. But this statement here by Hal, I'm okay with because you don't want to just fire a guy. Go from a sports management perspective, which I do have a minor in, which is great. So with sports management and the way this works, you don't just get rid of a guy without consulting with your team first. Because your team and the personnel are the ones who are with them every day and know if this is a guy who they like, who they trust, who they want to keep around. Because even though you like a guy, a player's always going to know they want to win, and they're going to put that idea first. If they feel like they're in the best situation to win, great. Then they're going to go with keeping the manager there. If they feel like the manager's really helped, then there's no problem there. Here's where there will be a problem. If the manager is not involved, let me reword that a bit. If the manager is not getting along well, he's making bad decisions, he doesn't have a certain energy that keeps them up and going, he's not getting along with the guys, he's being very critical, he's not catering to them, helping them out, and trying to get them to be the best players on the field, players aren't going to support him, and the coaching staff isn't going to support him. And then that'll be grounds to be like, okay, we're going to just move on. You know, that's the big thing of it all that we need to really think about here. That's why I respect what Hal says here. That's the proper way to go about it as an owner of a franchise. You ask your personnel, you ask your players to give their input and what they feel if they want him back next year, and that's exactly what they did. And they all agreed they want him back. So, good quote here by Hal. If the players want him, why get rid of him? Next one. Talking about conversations with Cashman around the Yankees after the season ended.
That's not an accomplishment. But I did speak to him at the beginning, and I just told him that, this season is completely unacceptable. That, we got a winning record. That's not an accomplishment. That's a requirement as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly.
And that everybody needs to check their egos at the door. And in a respectful way, everybody needs to be challenging each other and critical of each other and what goes on in the individual's various worlds. And that if anybody thought that everything in your world is just perfect and you're doing everything right, then you should just leave because you'll be useless to the proceedings.
I'm going to pause it right there just for now. Essentially, he basically said winning's not something that's, an accomplishment. It's for the Yankees organization, the history of winning they have. It's not an accomplishment. It's a requirement. Having a winning record is a requirement. It's not an accomplishment. An accomplishment is making the postseason. An accomplishment is making it past the ALCS and going to the World Series, which the Yankees have not done since 2009, when this man's father was still alive and kicking. So, realistically, right, if I'm being completely transparent, I love this energy from him. He said, check your egos at the door. So it doesn't matter if you think you're the best guy in the room. If you feel like you're doing perfect and nothing can change, then you can leave the team. Basically said, if you think you're perfect, you're doing nothing wrong, and that you don't have to worry about whatever's going on, then you're not meant to be here. So you need to move and leave. And I'm liking that thought process and that energy coming out of Hal. But the question is, did they actually do anything about those players? Because I guarantee you there's at least one player who felt that way.
So, I wanted to lay out and make clear that we need to look at everything we're doing, and there doesn't need to be any finger pointing behind anybody's back, because you're all in the room doing it to each other's faces. And, I'm told the meetings, I've read the notes to the meetings, it's about 40 pages of them, but they were respectful, but they were heated at times and very honest, very frank.
Which is fine. Which is perfectly fine. Because you need to have that energy in that room. You need them to voice their frustrations. You know you've lost a room and you lost your team when they don't want to communicate and they feel like their voice won't be cared for, won't matter. I mean, look at what happened with the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going to flip it to football just for this. The Raiders just got rid of not Mike McDaniel, oh my gosh, Josh McDaniels, their former head coach. Now Antonio Pierce is their interim head coach, and they've already won their first football game with him. McDaniels was not doing well with the team. The team was lost with him. He was like being a stickler with everything. The winning wasn't fun. The game wasn't fun for them. So they held a gigantic team meeting with all the team captains, with the coaching staff. McDaniels came in. He said all these things. All the guys voiced their frustrations. There was profanity used. There was passion out there for everybody to see. And you see McDaniels understand, be like, okay, I hear you. And he's like getting more and more flustered and frustrated because every guy has something bad to say about him and nobody else. So he gets frustrated. And at that point, Antonio Pierce steps up, the new interim head coach, and basically calms the guys down and gives them motivation to think, we know things are rough right now, but think about what I went through with this and that. We can be just like those New York Giants back in 2007. We get hot at the right time. We can make it the playoffs, make a deep run if we stay hot. And he's going through this whole thing, getting them motivated and getting them up, and they're loving it. He's telling great stories. Guys are getting along. Guys are in good moods. McDaniels gets pissed off. He lashes out. And then at that point, Mark Davis gets to see firsthand that he knows what the problem is. The problem was the coach. And so he gets rid of the coach and makes the guy who got the room and won the locker room, puts him into the position. And now they're winning. That's what it takes. That's exactly what it takes to win. And that's what we mean by these meetings are important, because it can expose where the fractures are, where the cracks are. And once you expose the crack and you realize where the problem is, where the foundation's breaking, you can't just break. I'm not going to say you have to break up the foundation and put down a whole new one, because you can't realistically do that. Not unless you lose the foundation first and everybody retires or leaves. No. What happens is, if you find a crack, you have to find a way to fix that crack. Usually there's a temporary fix, which is, give the guy a little more money. It's like almost filling it, like taping it up, but then you know that no matter what, it's still going to be a problem. Especially if it's a guy's attitude. If it's a guy's attitude, the money's not going to solve it. You got to move him. And that will solve the problem. You basically pull the crack out immediately and you refill it with a stronger substance to make sure that it doesn't crack any further. Now, obviously, other things will cause cracks in the foundation down the line, but this spot will be okay for now. And so you solve that issue. See, when little problems are exposed in how do I put it? I want to put this in a more precise term, not like in terms of construction. I got it. Let's say, I hate using a video game reference, so I'm going to use it. Okay. Among Us, the game. The way it works, you've got people working together on a ship. You got to figure out who's the killer, who's the murderer, who's the one that's the double agent, whatever. In that game, you have to figure it out by using communication. You can voice your concerns, voice your thoughts, and just talk it out and get somebody out and solve the problem. And that's what it is, essentially. And this is no different, except for the fact that nobody's trying to kill each other here. It's the same exact process. Sitting here to hear anybody's concerns, see, okay, who is somebody that seems like they really don't belong? Who feels like they've moved on from the Yankees, they're done, they're checked out. And once you see that, or you feel like the players are checking out on one specific person, you know that person isn't winning the room and that they may need to go. And then you see the same thing with players. If players are checked out to everybody in the room, the entire personnel, their fellow teammates, then that's another issue. If you can't resolve that, they got to go too. It ain't just performance, it's attitude matters too. So I get this completely from Hal too.
And as the days and weeks ensue here, I think a lot of things are going to come of it. Changes, perhaps in personnel, certainly in certain practices. But those discussions are ongoing between the parties that were in the room every day here. And, we're working really hard. I mean, Cashman was just down here for 2 weeks in Tampa. So we had a lot of meetings and a lot of discussions, and that's going to continue.
And that's going to continue. It ends there because they cut the clip short. So that's that one. Now, he also confirmed that the Yankees are not being audited by an outside firm. It's the outside firm that's showing the Yankees how they do analytics and how they can apply what they're doing to get this done. So let's talk about the analytics, which is important.
And I know it's been referred to as an audit. It's really not that. It's a collaboration, a year-long collaboration where, and Cash can explain this better than me, we're going to look at their systems and their processes that they use to analyze data and make decisions.
Wait. I just heard that. Let me go back here. Let's listen to the most important part. The first 15 seconds are important.
And I know it's been referred to as an audit. It's really not that. It's a collaboration, a year-long collaboration where, and Cash can explain this better than me.
Right there.
Can explain this better than me. We're going to operation where, and Cash can explain this better than me. We're going to look.
Cashman can explain better than him. The owner of the team is defaulting to the general manager on something that he doesn't have any knowledge of or enough knowledge of. And they expect Cashman to have the same knowledge. So it feels like Cashman has control, does it not? It feels like he's got more control already. But that's just an observation I made. Cash knows more than I do. That doesn't sound promising to me.
Their systems and their processes that they use to analyze data and make decisions. These are processes that come from their years in the industry of experience before they started this company, and also from their experience with other major league clubs that they've worked with. We're then going to take all that, what we've learned, and compare it to what we do in the way that we analyze the data and make decisions in the processes we have. And, there could very well be some areas where we feel, we need to do better and change.
Okay, again, overall, not a bad quote. It's just that one part about Cash knows more than I do that bothers me because it sounds like the general manager has more control of the team than the owner does, which is a little scary. But that's just what I got out of it. Now, another quote here that's coming in. Steinbrenner says he's going to be added to meetings next week or so about offseason targets for the Yankees. Money comes off the payroll. My family does everything we can to put it back in. That's not going to be any different this year. So we'll go into that full quote right now.
Even if we had, that's private information.
Just curious if you have any plans as far or know what your operating budget is going to be this off season, and if there's any particular number or threshold that you've settled on.
We have not talked about that at length, and even if we had, that's private information that I probably wouldn't share. But we're going to be active as we always are in the free agent market / trade market. They've already had meetings, kind of prioritizing the different free agents and talking about trades, but I have not been brought into that process yet. That will happen in the next week or so, and we'll go from there. But as always, money comes off the payroll. My family does everything we can to put it back in, and that's not going to be any different this year. They've already had meetings, kind of prioritizing the different free agents and talking about trades, but I have not been brought into that process.
Is that normal? I want to know. I want to hear it from somebody in the chat. Is that normal? Is it normal? Is it normal that your general manager and his staff are leaving you out? You're an owner of an MLB franchise, one of the most profitable franchises in baseball and in sports history. And you're being left out of the meetings of something that could affect your pocket. That's so stupid. Listen, I'm not calling him stupid. No, I'm not calling Hal stupid. This isn't him. I actually don't think he's a bad guy. He's not bad. But his father, George, would have fought tooth and nail to be in every single meeting for personnel. This way he understands what's going on in the minds of the people. What's going on in the minds of the management, in the front office. What is the mindset? Listen, the man made a lot of money in his lifetime, but let's not act like he wasn't invested in everything. He was in those general manager meetings, in the front office meetings, there for player meetings, to understand what's the situation. This way, nobody can come up to him, feed him a line of whatever, and he has to accept it and not question it because he wasn't there. Because he's physically there to see it himself. That's my argument. I'm not seeing that from Hal. And I don't know if that's necessarily him or it's Cashman telling him, don't worry, I got this under control. I'll take care of all the baseball stuff. You worry about the money and the other things with the ballpark. And the merchandising and everything financial. You worry about the financials, I'll worry about the team. I wonder if that's the agreement they have. And that's why he's not involved as much. Because this is absolutely poor malpractice. I mean that. This is like malpractice. An owner should be heavily involved in these meetings. Now, some people will disagree because you think of owners in the other leagues like Jim Irsay of the Colts, who seems like he has too much involvement in everything. You could say the same thing with Mark Davis of the Raiders. He has too much involvement in everything. But you know what? The involvement's important. You want an owner that's there for almost everything. And I'm not really seeing that. They've left him out already in the first... Listen, the season ended for them in the last week of September. We're at the second week of November. You mean to tell me over the last month or so, they've left you out of all these meetings? And now we're just going to bring you in at the end of this week to get started? What the hell? What the hell? My guess, which would make sense, is that what they're going to do is they're going to line up all the free agents. They're going to let Hal come in, look, and be like, well, I don't like that idea. I like this one. I don't like that, though. Can we try something else? Like, if he does that, I'm cool with that. But if it's something where they're just bringing him saying, okay, this is our plan. This is what we're going to do. I don't want you to have any problems. We've got this under control. If he were to say that and Hal be like, okay, then I would have a problem with Hal. Because you got to have some backbone and voice in this organization. And I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it from that statement. And we can continue it here.
Yet. That will happen in the next week or so. And we'll go from there. But as always, money comes off the payroll. My family does everything we can to put it back in. And that's not going to be any different this year.
Not going to be any different this year. So the money. Give them all the money in the world to get it done. I'm okay with that. But here's the thing. They don't have to cross that luxury tax threshold. That's one thing I will say about the team. They don't got to spend too much money. But it's just... Ugh. Aaron Boone has expressed a desire to teach the Yankees young players to bunt more often. He feels it's becoming a bigger part of the game again. We're going to start this from the beginning. Less a part of the game than...
Let me give you I'll give you an example. So one thing that was discussed in August is bunting. I mean, I think Aaron Boone thinks that we're not teaching the young players to bunt enough. What we do in player development is, try to evolve with the game. Bunting is less a part of the game than it was 10 years ago. I looked it up. 10 years ago, I think the average team bunted successfully, sacrificed bunts like 30 times in an entire season. Now that number's down to like 12 or 13. We bunted 7 or 8 times last year. We're right in line with the Texas Rangers. So yes, a few years ago in player development, we kind of cut back on the bunting skills. But Aaron Boone feels it's becoming a bigger part of the game again. He feels it's important, so we're gonna start right up again. At the player development level, with everything we were doing. Let me give you I'll give you an example. So one thing that was discussed in August is bunting. I mean, I think Aaron Boone thinks that we're not teaching the young players to bunt enough.
Okay, that's the clip. Yeah, I would agree about bunting. I think bunting is definitely an issue to worry about in some capacity. And that's just not something that works. You can't just have bunting become a problem. This is what I mean. Bunting is a key part of the game. It always has been. You can't sit here and act like it's not. It's always been. And sure, the game has changed a lot, but that doesn't change the fact that it's still key to the success of baseball. I mean, it's basic baseball. And to hear that they didn't even focus on it at all in any capacity, that's annoying. It's extremely annoying. I mean that. It's very, very bad. I mean it. It's just not... It's not smart. I'm updating some information real quick. Let me take care of that. Okay, sorry, just taking care of some things real quick. So yeah, I'll be honest with you guys. I just feel that there's this disconnect. That's basic baseball. It's basic baseball to lay down a bunt. Basic baseball. And knowing the time to play small ball and not. That's what made some teams so sneaky dangerous. The Diamondbacks this year were a small ball team. They weren't a big power hitting team. They were actually average or to below average in hitting this year. They got hot at the right time. They played their system properly, and they made it to the World Series. The Yankees don't have to be bombers every time, hitting homers left and right, left and right, left and right. Like, you don't have to do that. Is it nice? Sure, but it's just not realistic. Now we're going to talk about Steinbrenner reflecting on moves the Yankees made over the last handful of years. You know, there have been some good trades. I think they get overlooked somewhat. That's what he legitimately said. Let's go back.
Let's just pick one.
Worst personnel moves of your leadership has come in the last 24, 36 months. Name a few: Gallo, Montas, Donaldson, Rodon to this point. Did you dig enough? Are you comfortable enough with whatever is being made, either scouting, analytic, whatever, why the decision-making has become so poor as of late?
Well, let's look at a few. I'll get to that. I'll answer that question, I promise. But let's look at a few good things that we've done. Peralta trade was good. I mean, bringing in Holmes and Hamilton was purely an analytical play. Jose Trevino trade was good. So, I mean, we've done some good things as well. Tyone a couple of years ago. But nonetheless, let's just pick one guy you're talking about. Because everyone's talking about Joey Gallo, right? So I can tell you that this wasn't just an analytics play. Everybody in the room was a yes on Joey Gallo. There might have been some discussion about, are we giving away too much, in the trade? But everybody wanted Joey Gallo. There's always going to be a risk reward. We talk to as many people as we possibly can about, can this player play in New York? We talk to people that know him. We talk to whatever coaches we know. I mean, we do the homework we can do, but there's always going to be a risk reward. But just know, in that case, it didn't work out. You're right. But it was a unanimous decision to do that, and in the end, my decision. Now, in Rodon, I think way too soon. He had an injury. I mean, I don't think we can throw him in there. Montas, clearly, he got injured, and that didn't work out. We knew there was a chance of that, but we're trying to win a World Series that year, so we made the move and we got it. But there have been some good trades too, and I think they get overlooked somewhat. But I understand your point.
All right, so yeah, listen. He's not wrong. There were good trades, there were bad trades. That's the truth. There are good, there was bad, there's both. They had that share. Problem is, there was more bad to outweigh the good. The Trevino trade worked out. Yes, he's been great. He got injured this year. It's unfortunate he missed half the season. It's fine. Okay, we get that. You've made some very good trades. I'll give you your credit. The Tyone trade, when he came over, he wasn't great, but he did a great job in the rotation overall, filling in like the 3-4 spot. He was fine. Not a big deal. Here's where my issues begin. Gallo was somebody that I wasn't suspect about. And then he ended up completely falling apart, even though there was suspicion that he could, and there were reports out that in a big city market he would struggle because he's not used to it. Which I think is kind of a dumb way to go about it, but okay. A big city market doesn't work for him because the pressure will be too much, is essentially what it was like. And I said, that's not fair because it's an MLB. It's the MLB. All these ballparks, you're playing in these massive, massive ballparks with all these capacities, and you're saying that it's not going to be a smaller market team is going to affect anything? Dude, you're playing like 40 to 50,000 seated stadiums, and you're sitting here going, oh, I don't think you're really going to get a lot of people in there. It's a small market. Yeah, dude, it's kind of stupid. Let's be real here. It's kind of a dumb way to go about it. But yeah, listen, he did really well in Texas. Numbers were favoring him. Yankees brought him in, made the trade, got it done. And it just didn't work. The Yankee pressure was on him. Couldn't fight it off, and he ended up going to the Dodgers. They got rid of it, sent him over. Cool. Went to the Twins. Did a good job with the Twins. I got no hate for Gallo at all. I wish things would have gone better here, but I'm happy he's having fun wherever he is now in the job he's doing. So, listen, I got no hate for him. The Montes trade always pissed me off. And I want to go into detail about it further later on. Only because Cashman's quotes were worse. I mean this in general. Steinbrenner's quotes weren't bad here. It's Cashman's that were really bad. And you'll see why. So I'll save the Montes thing, but I'll keep it short here. The Montes trade should have never happened regardless of the injury. Let's get that out of the way. It should have been regardless of the injury, and it's because his numbers just weren't good. They weren't good outside of Oakland. That's essentially the short version. So I get it. I get how he's feeling here. I get what he's saying. But yes, they've had some good trades, but they've had some really bad ones. I think the Montgomery trade was bad too. Getting Harrison Bader was injury prone and didn't produce enough to justify him staying on the team. Now, he also detailed why he wanted Boone as manager and says he hasn't thought about anything beyond next year.
Alluded to before, and that he's extremely intelligent. He's hardworking. If the players respect him as a manager, they want to play for him and win for him. I mean, these are, to me, very important things. And he's a balanced guy, which I kind of alluded to before, in that he's able to take all the information we throw his way from both sides, and he's able to, to log it all in and, work with his coaches. He's great with his coaching staff. So, one of the most important things to me, the most important thing, yes, is winning championships. So that I understand where you're going with that. But if a manager doesn't have the respect of his players and the players don't want to play and win for him, that would always be a problem with me. But in talking to current players, as I told you I did, that's absolutely not the case. And that's a big deal to me in the clubhouse.
Now, if I may follow up,
Yeah.
he is going to the last year of his contract. Would you consider extending him, or are you going to hold back on that until you have?
That's the thing, as you know, I know whether it's a player, a coach, or anything else, I'm not really big on picking up options early or extending early. It's just not the way I normally operate. So I have not even thought about that. He's extremely intelligent. He's hardworking. If the players respect him as a manager, they want to play for him and win for him. I mean, these are, to me, very important things. And he's a balanced guy, which I kind of alluded to before, in that he's able to take all the information we throw his way from both sides, and he's able to, to log it all in and, work with his coaches. He's great with his coaching staff. So.
Yeah. It goes back to what I said earlier. With Howell and Boone, he left it to the players. And the players all were fine with him. And that's why he kept him. And he has his own reasons to like him. These are Howell's reasons why he likes him. There's also the players liked him, the personnel liked him, so they're giving him another shot here. That's essentially what this is. Now, talking about an extension beyond the next year, he hasn't decided that because, as the Yankees always do, they don't extend anybody, including players, until after their final year, their contract is done. So in their final year, they got to prove it. They didn't do it with Judge. Judge proved himself. Boom, won the MVP, and he just got his big payday last year. So, same situation here. Let's see how far Boone takes him next year, how much better they get. They're going to give him everything he needs, and if Boone can't get it done, they go to a new manager. It's essentially it. That's where I feel like the energy is tilted here. That's the underlying message here, is that this is Boone's test it year. If Boone goes, gets it done, gets him to the World Series, boom, they're back in playoffs, this and that, he'll get an extension. If he can't do it and they're continuing on this negative trend, then he's done. Maybe Cashman too, who knows. But this is where we're at. That's what I got from this. Now, he also said about the payroll thing.
To win a title. Is that still your stance, and are you firm on that? And do you expect the team to not exceed $300 million in payroll?
$300 million is not a hard threshold any more than the last 293 threshold is, to answer that part of the question. But yes, I do believe that a team shouldn't need a $300 million payroll. Nobody has yet. Rangers didn't. Astros didn't last year. What you need is a good mix of veteran players, and equally important, a good mix of young players. And, you're going to see, we're going to get a bit younger. I mean, you're going to see one or more of the guys you saw in, September on the opening day roster. I mean, that's the hope. I don't know how many of them, but we are going to get younger. They're going to get their chances just as Volpe got his chance and did very good.
So here we go. The younger guys are going to get their chance just like Volpe did. They're going to be very good. I want you to remember these quotes. Remember, every quote you're hearing from Hal, you need to know, because Cashman has his later on, and there's contradictions. So I want you to keep your guys' eyes out and ears out on this, because you're going to see conflicts in Cashman's statements compared to Hal's statements. Sums up the 2023 season for the seasons and concluding his availability. It was awful. We accomplished nothing. Fans didn't get anywhere close to what we deserved.
Playoffs, much less a championship.
Let's try again.
I think Cash summed it up. I mean, it was awful. I mean, we accomplished nothing. We didn't win a division, didn't make it to the playoffs, didn't win a series in the playoffs, much less a championship. I went over the winning record. That's a requirement as far as I'm concerned. So the fans didn't get anywhere close to what they deserve. But, we're all very passionate about this. We're working our ass off. And, we're going to do everything we can to right the ship for 2024. But bad year.
It's nice to see him take ownership of it now that it was a bad year. Especially after a very famous quote, which I keep in my phone. I will play for all of you because I always keep it in my gallery in my phone ready to go. At any moment he makes a dumb statement, I have it ready. So don't worry, folks. I will play that for you right now. This is an old quote from the Yes Network when he was on there the other day. Back in June.
I understand they're upset. I'm a little confused this year, being third week in June, why they're so upset.
I want to play that one more time.
I understand they're upset. I'm a little confused this year, being third week in June, why they're so upset.
Yep. Always have that one ready. He refused to take ownership at the time that the team was in a negative direction in the middle of the year. And as a result, they went into free fall mode. And they paid the price. They paid the price for it. And he is now acknowledging it. So I give him a lot of credit for owning it now, acknowledging it, getting it out of the way. A lot of it, again, kudos to him. And he did everything right in terms of the way the ownership should be. The only thing I'm questioning is why in the hell is he not involved in the meetings? Why is he not being there in the first place, having full control over everything? That's really more of what it is for me. I need to see him get more involvement, I want to see him really sit there and act like his father a little bit. Show a little backbone, show a little force, show your fist a little bit, show a little force. Go in there and say, listen, I don't like this decision. I don't agree with it. And you're going to do this instead because I said so. I will not show you the money to pay for a guy that I don't want, that I don't think will help the team. I don't care what your analytics department says. I don't care what your scouting department says. I'm analyzing the player for myself with what I have seen and what he can produce. And I feel he's not a fit for my team. I want to see him fight back, put his fist down, and say, I'm not taking this. I think you're making bad personnel decisions, so I want more of a voice in what you do. That's what I want to see from Hal. Show you like your father. I'd love to see that. Now Cashman's time. Be prepared, folks. This will likely enrage you if you're a Yankee fan.
Have Sabes and Omar and Hendricks.
Yeah, so we brought up Sabes and Omar last year.
Right.
Obviously, and those guys I've obviously known for a long time. We spoke about it last year. I tried to hire Omar for years. Finally got him over here, and Sabes obviously I worked with. He's one of the greatest, evaluators, in this generation. And those guys are have key seats at our table. But regardless, ultimately, I've been here with the Yankees for a long time. Whether that's a good thing, what our fans or perception want to say or not, I'm proud of our operation. I think we have a great group of baseball people. I think we have a very strong process that has served us well up until what happened this particular season. Certainly that cause for evaluation, that does cause for self-reflection, which always will be the case regardless. We do that even when we're flying high. We had 99 wins the previous year and got knocked out in the ALCS, but it didn't stop me from onboarding two great baseball people. So this winter we go back at the wheel, and it's now about 24, and we look to be a phoenix rising out of the ashes to find a way. But at the end of the day, that's the challenge every year, and so it's what we're going through right now is no different, than any other season. But this year, the big difference is we didn't punch a ticket to the postseason. We didn't get a chance to take a shot at the title because we took ourselves out of it, earlier. And we tried to.
We got a great bunch of good baseball people. That's essentially what I got. We got a bunch of good baseball people here. Listen, I'm not denying it. I do also agree. I hate ever saying that I agree with this guy. I really don't. I really do hate saying it. But I do agree with some of his words here, especially the part where he goes that, they look at it every year. Well, here's the thing. If you're looking at it every year, you should have realized that there were negative trends in your team. Negative trends, negative problems. So why not go out there and correct the problem? Look at the people that you have under contract and see who's under contract that's not working. I can name one player right now who could easily be off the team tomorrow. But you won't do it. Because it's too much money that you paid the guy when he was in his prime that you wasted here in New York. And he hasn't performed to the expectations in that contract he's making. I'm sure we all know who this man is. I'll give you a hint. He's about the same size as Mr. Aaron Judge. I'm sure you all know who it is. Used to be an MVP, was one of the best hitters in the game in Miami. Now you guys know. I don't have to say the name. You guys know who I'm talking about. That man's contract is absolutely ridiculous for the performance he's put on in his career with New York. Unacceptable. He needs a pay cut. That's the answer. Give him a pay cut, maybe I'll be less annoyed. Fans don't deserve that. You cut down his contract, you have more money to spend for guys that can have a deeper impact than he already has with the organization. Now, this is where I get annoyed, because this is where he pushes back that they're an analytically driven organization. This is Cashman's quote in response.
And I think it's been put.
You mentioned injuries, which are largely out of your control, but is there anything that needs to change and will change on the process side?
Oh, we're always looking to improve on process. So last year, everybody thought that, well, first and foremost, on the I want to make sure, and I think it's been put out there. So people talk about we're analytically driven, right? Do you know we're the least large? We have the smallest analytics department in the American League East.
So what? Smallest department in the league, in the American League East. Maybe that's why you guys aren't doing well in the analytic area?
Is that a shocker to you guys? We have the largest pro scouting department in all of baseball. Is that a shocker to you, to everybody?
I'm going to keep saying it. So what? Listen, who cares about the fact that you have the smallest analytic department in American League East in your division? You have the smallest one in your division. Great. The Orioles, with their great scouting department and their analytics department, they just had won the American League, record. They had the best record in the American League this year. That's one. And they're a young team, a really young team. And they made you look like chumps. Let's start with that. Tampa Bay, scouting department, analytics department. We all know they're an analytically driven team. But that doesn't mean that it hasn't helped them get to the postseason for how many consecutive years now with Kevin Cash as their manager? Listen, he's great. The Rays have a great thing there. I know they got knocked out in the wild card this year, which is disappointing. But they keep going back with their analytics department, which is working. Their scouting department is working. They got some young talent that they can utilize. The Orioles have plenty. They still have a lot more in the minors that they're not even talking about that could easily develop into major league talents like this. They have plenty. You guys have no idea. Let's look at another team and finish past them. Toronto. They made the playoffs too. Their analytics department, larger than the Yankees. Scouting department, smaller. But look at the talent. They still made it. The Yankees didn't make it. The Red Sox didn't make it, and they finished worse than the Yankees. Yes. Their talent is not as much as the Yankees. They don't have as much talent outside of really a couple guys like Justin Turner and Rafi Devers, but Turner is a free agent, so we'll see if that sticks. But my point still stands here. It still stands. Each of these teams in the American League East have had some kind of success, either this year with the three of them at the top, or Boston, who was years before. Well, they got a promising future. That's how I'll put it for them. They're building a promising future. I've seen some of the minor leaguers they got down there. They're building a good farm system. Trust me, they'll be back up there at the top before you know it. And the Yankees, falling slowly, falling farther and farther behind. That's it. Now, let me ask you this. If you guys are a Yankee fan here, I want you to try to answer this question too. In any way you can. Answer the question if you can. In the last 10 to 15 years, can you name one prospect in the minor system that the scouting... Okay, better way to put it. Since the Yankees got a brand new ballpark in 2009, can you name one successful player outside of Aaron Judge who they properly developed in the minors and scouted and ended up being very good in the major leagues? Being very good at minimum. Very good. Can you name one? Because I can't. I can't even name one. I mean that. You had plenty of guys who had a lot of promise. A lot of promise, I'll say. But not guys who would, go out there and, do the things that Judge has done. I mean, the closest you probably get, you have to go back into the early to late 2000s with friggin' Brett Gardner. Brett Gardner was great. That's my argument here. Let me go back and I'll look at Baseball Reference. You know what? Let's do this as a group, actually. Let's go together and search it up, shall we? We're going to come right here and we're going to take a look at this. Maybe I can add a new tab and you guys can see it. Can you guys see what I just did? Yes, you can. All right. So let's take a look, shall we, everybody? Well, actually, no. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. I'll do it separately. How's that? I'll do it separately. I'll bring the tab into the new page. That's how we'll do it. I'll show you guys how it's done shortly. Let me go grab the page. It is Baseball Reference. We're going to use Baseball Reference. We're going to put it in on the other window. Give me 1 second. Oh, it's not even coming up. Come on, where are you? Okay. Now here, in the Baseball Reference window, right? I put into a completely separate tab, so I'm going to switch it up. Okay? We're going to switch it up. You guys are seeing it all in this one. I'm going to change this big time. Okay, you're on this page right now. Yeah, I can't really do that. Oh, man, okay. So we'll try this again. We'll try it differently. No, it should work here. Okay, let's try it again. Let's try it again then. So Baseball Reference. Coming up right here. We're going to dive into whatever else it is, which is, in this case, let's just type in the Yankees, right? Yankees. New York Yankees, 1903 to 2023. Let's start with 2022. We won't go into the last year's because it's hard to say anybody successful from last year. So let's start from here. Do you want to say, let's see who you can include in this. Trevino, Rizzo, Gleyber Torres. Remember, guys, Gleyber was not originally drafted by the Yankees. He was not drafted. He played in the majors with the Yankees. He was not drafted by the Yankees. As you go through the numbers, he spent his entire career with the Yankees, yes, but he wasn't drafted. It was an acquisition, and that's what made it work for them. Let's try some other guys who were either really good, who were supposed to be really good. Judge, we already talked about being developed here. Higashioka, another guy who was drafted by the Yankees in 08, developed by the Yankees, 33 years old, playing in the majors with them since 2017. Is it safe to say that the man has been phenomenal? No. He's been a rotational backup catcher. Miguel Andujar, who's now on the Pirates, or was on the Pirates. He was drafted by the Yankees. Well, no, not even drafted. He was basically acquired. Played with the Yankees. Barely had a lot of time with them. Only good year he had was 2018. After that, they dropped the ball on him and let him fall. Let's see, anybody else you want to include here? Let's look at Peraza. Peraza just started with them. Peraza. In 2 years, he had his most production last year, actually, with the team. He had a batted 191 in 52 games. Not good. Not good. LaCastro was not even a Yankee. Florial is a Yankee still. But he was another guy that wasn't, if I'm correct, he was not drafted by the Yankees. He wasn't drafted. He was just acquired. Another one of those guys. And he hasn't been doing too great with them either because they're not using him. You want to go through pitching too? Sure. Jordan Montgomery, who just won a World Series with the Texas Rangers, right? Right? He was drafted by the Yankees in 2014. He actually was turning into a pretty good pitcher. Yankees got rid of him. Sent him to St. Louis. Pitched better in St. Louis. He pitched great this year in Texas. He was good. He's getting better. And they dumped him off as he was getting better. Now he won a World Series. He's going to command a lot of money. Anybody else here we can really look at as a guy that they developed? Don't you include Wandy here. Don't believe you can. Nope, can't include Wandy Peralta. Let's see, a lot of these guys are acquisitions. Let's go with Cortez. Cortez didn't have a good year last year, but he is an all-star pitcher regardless. 36th round in the amateur draft 2013. This man originally was with Baltimore. He pitched 1 year in Baltimore and then went back to the Yankees, 2019. Not great in 19. He was with Seattle in 20. Didn't do great with them. Back with the Yankees in 21. Pretty solid. All-star in 22. This year he was terrible. 4.97 ERA. Terrible. But still, a guy who has an all-star. You can't really go with him and say him because compare that to production of Mr. Aaron Judge. Let's compare that to Aaron Judge, shall we? Aaron Judge, center field. 5-time All-Star, 3-time Silver Slugger. Player of the Year, Major League by TSN. Home Run Derby champ, a Rookie of the Year, and he has an MVP to his name. This man has done so much in that time. And you compare that to other guys that may have tried to develop and didn't work out. Let's look at Severino. 2-time All-Star pitcher. He was another guy that they signed, didn't draft. He was an acquisition. And he was a good acquisition for a while until about 2022. 2022, that was the year he went downhill. Well, not really 2022. We'll say this year. This year was really bad for him. And there's no coming back from how he played. Schmitty. Clark Schmidt. Drafted by Yankees first round in 2017. Clark Schmidt. In that time frame, right? He actually didn't have a horrific year, but it was, compared to the rest of the guys, it was actually a pretty good year. He was better in 2022, though. Shockingly. Go to the rest of these guys here. You see Domingo Germán, who's now been outrighted by the Yankees. They put him on waivers, got rid of him. He didn't pitch good once. You can maybe count his 2017 year, or 2022 year, which was actually the best year he's had, with a decent amount of starts. Go to the rest of these guys. I mean, none of these guys really did anything. I mean, what else do you guys want me to say? Let's go to 2021. Let's keep backtracking, since this is where we're at. We're at this point where I have to keep backtracking. This is the sad part, by the way. This is the sad part. Gio Urshela was not a Yankee-developed product. He was not drafted by the Yankees. He started in Cleveland. And the Yankees got him in 2019 and then got rid of him after the 2021 season for Mr. Josh Donaldson, who they felt at the time was a better baseball player. What the hell does that mean? The Yankees are so frustrating. Gary Sanchez, that is technically Yankee-developed product. But it is not in the extent that people think. We'll do minor leagues. We'll start with the minor leagues. He started out playing with the Yankees back in 2010, starting in the minor leagues, and then he worked his way up. So yeah, we'll say that's a Yankee-developed product. Gary Sanchez, with a Yankee-developed product, has 2 All-Stars to his name and a Silver Slugger. They got rid of him because his tats went downhill so quickly. That 2020 season, he was all right. 2021, great year. 2022, 2021, bad year. 2020, bad year. 2019, with the 232 average, he had an all-star. 2018, bad year. 2016, decent year. I mean, you go through the numbers, he just wasn't good. But in 2023 total, he was actually great. He was actually better than what he was. So with Sanchez, I'm asking myself the same question. That's another guy I can't really include even though he has 2 All-Stars because the Yankees moved on from him and they moved on from him too late. Take a look at some other guys. Odor, Voit, Clint Frazier. Clint Frazier, the failure of Clint Frazier. The mistakes that they made with him. Yeah, this has to be studied somewhere because this was a shocker to everybody. Didn't do well with Chicago. He was all right with Chicago in 2022. 2 different Chicagos. Terrible with the Yankees in 21. Good with them in 20. Good with them in 19. Good with them in 18. Okay with them in 17. But he was never used. And so it ended up not working out. He hasn't done anything. Again, we're looking for guys that did similar in terms of impact to Aaron Judge. She had maybe 1 or 2 All-Stars. Maybe 1 or 2, which would be, again, you're talking probably including in there Gary Sanchez, who they moved on from, who has done absolutely nothing since he's come out, despite being with the 210 plus average. Let's keep moving on here. Andrew Velasquez, I don't even believe that was their product. Diamondbacks product, and he didn't do much with them. Keep going through. I mean, I'm reading all these names. I'm not seeing anybody. Nobody knows. That's where we're at. 2020. Going back now 3 years. We're going 3 years back. Sanchez, Voit, LeMahieu, Torres, Urshela, Gardner. I told you guys about Brett Gardner. He's a one-time All-Star, won a World Series, has a gold glove to his name. This is going to be the next closest that you have to building a successful, sustainable product of a player. This man has had so many 250-plus batting seasons, it's actually insane. And for a guy who only has, again, 1 All-Star and 1 gold glove to his name. Kind of crazy to think about. And you keep going through, and it's just, he was a consistently good guy, drafted in 2005 by the Yankees. And he was just good. He was consistently good and solid on the field. That was it. Do we want to bring up Aaron Hicks in any way? No. Aaron Hicks wasn't even a Yankee. He started out with the Twins. Mike Ford, I don't know if that was technically a Yankee. He started with the Yankees. He started with them. But in the end, you go look at what he did, and he just fizzled. He's nothing. Nothing. I'm going into the bullpen. Sessa. Luis Sessa. I remember Sessa. Developed by the Yankees, he was never anything special. Unfortunately. Nothing like, again, the impact of a multi-time All-Star. You're just going through all these names and there's nobody. There's nobody. Tanaka wasn't theirs. He came from overseas. This is terrible. Go to 2019, the 103-win season. When they lost in the ALCS to the Astros in 6 games that year. Let's look at that year. Tauchman was starting a lot. He had a lot of starts. And he wasn't even starting with the Yankees. He was Colorado. Maben, we already know, wasn't a Yankee product. Let's take a look at Luke Voit. Let me give Luke Voit a fair shake. Nope, started in St. Louis. I'll give you another guy. Let's take a look at Austin Romine. Romine is a Yankee product. He started with the Yankees, never made an All-Star after being drafted in the 2nd round of 2007. This is what I'm talking about. Constant guys who don't become All-Stars, who don't emerge into players that they're projected to be good. That they're projected to be. I'll leave it at that. Projected to be. Greg Bird is another guy. Played his whole career with the Yankees. Drafted by the Yankees. Never really amounted to much. He had a couple decent years. Well, by a couple, I mean 1, which was 2015. Didn't have anything after that. Go through everything else. I mean, look, Paxton wasn't there. Hap wasn't. CeCe was with the Yankees a long time, and they just he's not a developed product of the Yankees. He was a Yankees pitcher. That was it. You can't say that he was brought up by the Yankees. This is what I mean by the scouting department. The scouting department has to build young players that become cornerstones of franchise for years to come. And they barely had any in the recent years I'm showing. Well, look at all these names. You want to talk about Johnny Lasagna? Johnny Lasagna is a Yankee product, sure. But he, as a reliever, he's not crazy. 2021 was his only really good year, really. Honestly. And if you're talking about when he was starting, he wasn't a great starter. He was a good bullpen guy. When they went to the bullpen, he was better, but he's not an all-star. Again, proving my point. We're going to 2018 now. We're in 2018 at this point. When you hit 2018, you can now include Diego Gregorius, not a Yankee product. Go to Giancarlo Stanton. We already know that's not a Yankee product. Go to the bench. Neil Walker. That's not a Yankee product. Tyler Austin, if I'm correct, that was a Yankee product. He was a Yankee product. Drafted 13th round 2010 amateur draft in June. Spent 2.5 years. 2.5 years with the Yankees. 2.5. Nothing crazy. No all-stars. Keep going. Andrew McCutchen. Wasn't developed. Torreyes. I don't believe he started as a Yankee. No, he started as a Dodger. Tyler Wade. This is an iconic name we talk about all the time. 4th round pick, 2013 draft. Hasn't had an all-star appearance in his batting. I mean, the decent year he had was with Oakland. He actually had a decent year with Oakland in 26 games he appeared in. And the 2021 season with the Yankees, he was actually decent too in 103 games. He was actually decent. 2019 as well. But nothing to call him an all-star. I mean, I could keep going. This is just really bad. Drury, we already talked about, wasn't a Yankee. Robinson, no. Hechavarria, no. Billy McKinney, no. Jace Peterson, no. Lance Lynn, Sonny Gray, no. Betances, well, technically, yeah, Betances is a Yankee product started by the Yankees. 4-time All-Star. This might be the closest you get. 4-time All-Star Dylan Betances. 8th round of the Yankees in 2006. This man went to 4 All-Stars between 2014 and 2017. That's the one guy I'll give you. I'll give you him. He was great. He was great in those 4 years. Also good in 2018. So the one developed product I can give you by name that the Yankees did was Dylan Betances. 4-time All-Star reliever. So I'm writing down the names, okay? Dylan Betances, 4-time All-Star, right? We said Gardner, and he's a 1-time All-Star and 1-time Gold Glove. I'm looking at the impact of all of these guys now that they've left the league. Betances is the one guy that you could say is close, even remotely close, to Judge in some kind of impact. And this was a Brooklyn-born kid going to high school and becoming developed in Brooklyn, staying in New York. Like that's the wild part with him. Gallegos I can't include. David Hale I can't include. Zach Britton, no. Tommy Kahnle. Kahnle I might be able to. Let me see. Can you include Kahnle? No. Colorado was the start. I mean, I'm going through all these names and it's endless craziness. I'm going to David Robertson. Robertson started as a Yankee. That is another guy. 2006 17th round draft by the Yankees. 1-time All-Star 2009 World Series champ, which was his second year in the league. He got his All-Star vote in 2011 as the closer with a 1.08 ERA. Was an All-Star, was just outside the top 10 in Cy Young voting and 22nd in the MVP voting in the American League. Listen, outside of that one majorly good year he had, he was pretty mediocre everywhere else he went. Outside of the Yankees and White Sox combination in 2017. That's it. He hasn't been something to write home about, but he should be counted here regardless. So I'm going to count David Robertson. So I'll count Robertson just because. But again, this is a guy who won a World Series in 2009. I told you guys, any product they developed since 2009. And Robertson will qualify for that. So again, this is just 2018. We've got 3 players. Betances, Gardner, Robertson. We'll include Gary Sanchez just because. All right. He has an All-Star, and he was a Silver Slugger winner. 2017, the 91-win season where they made to the ALCS and lost to the Astros in 7 games. This is a big one. Chris Carter wasn't a Yankee. Sorry, wasn't developed by the Yankees. Starlin Castro wasn't developed by the Yankees. He was originally a Cub. He was a longtime Cub before he went to the Yankees. Headley, similar situation. Ellsbury was a Red Sox. Holiday, he was a Cardinal. He wasn't originally a Yankee. He was Colorado first. Todd Frazier, journeyman guy. Not originally a Yankee product. Cincinnati's first. Let's start with that. Garrett Cooper was a Yankee. He was not originally a Yankee product, but he was a Yankee. Ref Schneider, another guy. Was a Yankee. Drafted by the Yankees. Now he's the Red Sox guy. Or was a Red Sox guy. Yeah, he still is a Red Sox guy. And he's actually been producing in recent years for them. The last 3 years he's been really good. With Minnesota and Boston. But he hasn't had an All-Star. G-Man Choi, the Yankees had at one point. Nope. Cosma, Kratz, Fowler, Sabathia, Pineda, Tanaka, Jaime Garcia, Jason Shreve, Brian Mitchell, Tommy Lane, Ronald Herrera, Tyler Clippard. You're going through all these names. You're just sitting here going the same thing. What the hell? I'll take a look at Chad Green. Chad Green is a Yankee-developed product. Actually, I take it back. He wasn't a Yankee-developed product. Technically, no. He was originally drafted by the Blue Jays in 2010, 37 round. And then he got drafted again by the Tigers in the 11th round of 2013. And he was with the Tigers. He didn't play in the majors until he was with the Yankees, but he was a Tiger. I'll take a look at his minor league stats. I'll give you guys a solid answer here. In 2013, he started with Detroit, and then at some point in 2015, between 2015 and 2016, he was sent to New York and played in Scranton. So he was really developed by the Tigers, and then he was traded to the Yankees, who then brought him up and called him up. So, I mean, I'm not going to call him a Yankee product. I'm going to say he's a Tigers product. That's what he was. And he was solid. He really was. No All-Stars, but he was a solid reliever. Let's go to 2016. We're still climbing, by the way. I've only counted 4 players you can maybe argue because they have an All-Star. You can maybe argue them. But 2016, right here. Brian McCann was not a Yankee product. Mark Teixeira was not. A-Rod was not. Ellsbury was not. Carlos Beltran was not. Dustin Ackley was not. He was a Mariner product. Billy Butler, that's another one. Mason Williams, Donovan Solano, Ike Davis, Ben Gamble, Chris Parmalee, Eric Young Jr. Nathan Eovaldi. Not a Yankee product, by the way. Not a Yankee product. He was a Dodgers product. Drafted in the 11th round back in 2008 at 33 years old now. Has 2 All-Stars and 2 World Series to his name. 2021 with Boston, 2023 with Texas, and he's also in the running for the Cy Young this year. This man was in a Yankee uniform for 2 years. He wasn't developed by the Yankees. Just wasn't. Ivan Nova. I remember Nova. I do remember him very vividly. He was a Yankee product. He himself did not have any, how do I put it? He himself didn't have any All-Stars. But he wasn't necessarily the worst pitcher in the world as you look through the numbers here between 2010 and 2015. He just wasn't, just all right. Again, same guys. Andrew Miller, Tyler Clippard, Richard Blyer, Aroldis Chapman, Phil Koch. I talked about Phil Koch earlier. Koch started out, I believe, with the Marlins and then got drafted by the Yankees again in 2002, and the Yankees took him. 26th round. 2002. He was a Yankee product developed by the Yankees. Didn't show up in majors till he was 25. Started out playing okay. And then he ended up in Detroit after his second year, after the 2009 season. So, yeah. That's a Yankee product. Go to everything else. Kirby Yates, Swarzak, Parker, Malee, Shreve, Warren. It's just... Even Adam Warren, if I want to include him in here, he was never really a... I mean, he's a Yankee product, but he just wasn't like an all-star. Like, look, he had some good years, don't get me wrong. Like, the 13, 14, and 15, he was really good. But after that, he was all over the place. With Yankees 2017 was great. Yankees 2018, he was all right. I mean, he was good in some of these games, but you can't include a guy if he wasn't an all-star. You need guys with accolades to even include them in this conversation that they developed that ended up being very good. That's what you're looking. Very good would mean you have some kind of award. Even if it's just one, you have an award. Stephen Drew, not a Yankee product. Nice try, though. Ellsbury, Beltran, Rodriguez, Chris Young, not a Yankee product. John Ryan Murphy, no. Garrett Jones, no. Brendan Bryant. I know Brendan Ryan. That was definitely not a Yankee product. Jose Perella, Gregorio Petit, Ramon Flores, Cole Figueroa, Mason Williams, Slade Heathcott, Rico Noel, or Noel. And they go through the pitching, it's the same thing. I'll take a look at Pineda, but I don't believe Pineda was, and I'm right, Pineda was not a Yankee product to start. He wasn't. He's also a cheater, but we won't go into that. Chris Capuano. I mean, you're just going through all these names of guys who, like, it's actually embarrassing at this point. It starts getting embarrassing to start seeing less and less players who were developed end up having all-stars to their name. Brian Roberts, if I'm correct, that was originally an Oriole. That was an Orioles product. Yes, Baltimore product. Not even a Yankee product. Youngevich Solarte, that was not a Yankee product. I can guarantee you that. He definitely was not a Yankee product. Well, maybe I'm wrong. He started with the Yankees, ended up with San Diego. He was all right, but he never really got major awards or anything. So, still a loss. Ichiro, not our product. Soriano, I think Alfonso was. Alfonso Soriano was definitely a Yankee product. Yeah. He was of the Yankee system. So, Alfonso Soriano will be the last one that I would say rivals whatever Judge did. You're talking 7-time All-Star, 4-time Silver Slugger, and an All-Star MVP. So he finally found one after all this time. And this guy was picked in we forgot the most important part of this. We forgot the most important part. That was 2014. That was 9 years ago. This dude didn't play his first game until 1999 with the Yankees. Are you kidding me? Dude. Yeah, man, come on. Yeah, no. I'm not counting this. You're talking about the late 90s with this guy. I don't want to count this, man. I don't want to count that. Let's go to Cervelli. How about Francisco Cervelli, who won a World Series but never got an All-Star? He was originally a Yankee product, if I'm correct. And the answer is yes, because he started with the Yankees in 2008. So I will count him in here, but he doesn't have an All-Star. So again, he's out. Martin Prado, we won't do that. Chris Young, Zoilo Almonte. Almonte, that's another one. Zoilo Almonte spent 2 years in the majors, did nothing. Let's go back to who I said earlier, which I was a little iffy on, was Chris Young. I'm pretty sure he wasn't, though. I'm right. He was originally a D-back. Started out, though, with Chicago in 2001 as the draft pick. Interestingly enough. Scott Sizemore. I mean, look, you're going through so many names here. Some of these guys were not Yankee products. So many of these guys weren't. Look, Phelps is definitely a product, but he wasn't an all-star. Didn't have any awards. Kuroda came over from Japan to pitch for the Yankees. This is what I'm talking about, y'all. You come back here. This is where I have to cut it off. This is 2014. You're talking 10 years at this point. Any developed product will be coming from years before that. So we've reached our cutoff point. So look, I'm including Soriano for argument's sake. I'm including Soriano. I mean that. I'm including Soriano for argument's sake. So this is what we're at. In the summary of what we just went through, 9 years worth of teams that would fit the time frame. Dellin Betances, 4-time All-Star. Okay, that's one product. Brett Gardner, 1-time All-Star, 1-time Gold Glove winner. Great, long-time Yankee, very good, always excellent for us. Spent his whole lifetime here like I was hoping many other players would. David Robertson, 1-time All-Star. And had become like a journeyman reliever at this point, or a closer. Gary Sanchez, 1-time All-Star and a Silver Slugger. And because he's here, Alfonso Soriano, who appeared in 1999 with the Yankees, which was the last time they developed a product anything like Judge, 7-time All-Star, 4-time Silver Slugger. That is the closest they have come to Alfonso to a Judge, is Alfonso Soriano. This is where we're at. So I'm tired of hearing that the Yankees farm system has been incredible and that your scouting department has been great. When the last great developed product you have here, even close to this, is either Gardner, which would be 2009, 2008, or Dellin Betances, which is about the same time frame, 2010, 2011. Since 2013, you have not developed a product not named Aaron Judge. Not named Aaron Judge. Anyone want to argue that? Maybe argue Sanchez, 1-time All-Star, 1-time Silver Slugger, who's now a journeyman in the league? Come on. He's about the same age, too, as Judge. Come on, 30. It's bullshit's what it is. So I don't want to hear this argument from Cashman that, they're throwing like they're just small little department. Like, that's what annoys me.
Shouldn't be. But no one's doing their deep dives. They're just throwing ammunition and bullshit and accusing us of being run analytically. Analytics is an important spoke in our wheel, but it should be in everybody's wheel, and it really is an important spoke in every operation that's having success. There's not one team that's not using it. We're no different. But to be said we're guided by analytics as a driver, it's a lie. But that's what people want to say. I know I can't change that narrative. All I can continue to do is say bullshit, not true. But I will, guarantee it's important, and we utilize it along with our pro scouting opinions, along with our amateur scouting opinions. And yes, sometimes we do better and sometimes we do worse with some of our decisions. Sometimes they don't work out, but that's also part of the process. And we've had obviously our fair share in the more recent 2 seasons that haven't worked out. Some of it because of injuries, but.
And he went for the cop-out with injuries. Did you notice that? He went for the cop-out with injuries. Nice job. Nice job. Purely marketing perspective. PR perspective, he just did whatever he had to do. But he's done. He's lost it. He's taken away his filter. He's just going out and just talking his mind. Here's another one.
And again.
Said, I'm here now. Was there a chance that you might not be?
No, I mean, meaning here now talking.
Right.
Like I knew our owner wanted to talk to the press, so I didn't want to talk before he did.
Right.
So until he had a chance to have, to talk, which he did earlier today, and again, I personally seeing, so circling back. So I was talking about, I've been here for a long time, and I know what happens when you don't do well. So I was here during the mid 80s. Into the 90s, and the Yankees, we didn't start hitting our stride until 95, 94, 95. But I remember being a part of with a lot of great baseball people and teams that did not perform well, and the finger pointing that takes place in a losing situation. We're close to a losing situation. We're in a losing situation this year, but we lost enough not to make the postseason. But then what happens with a big market, you get a lot of people with a lot of opinions. You're getting from outside the organization that are throwing daggers, from inside the organization, different people that are actually you work with that have strong opinions of, well, if we went this way versus that way, and it starts playing out in the papers and everybody starts picking you apart. that's what happens when you lose. So, I don't like losing. I don't like not making the playoffs. Our fans deserve better. Our owner deserves better. So we're back at it trying to figure it out.
Correct on those both
does
statements.
involve a lot of tough conversations. But I do understand that it's important to separate what's real versus what's not real. What's just crap noise versus what, hey, that's action items right there. And that's what we're doing. I promise you that's what we're doing. I mean, do we have to, go ahead and do deep dives by publicly gutting ourselves and telling you everything we're doing internally as we assess what we've got going on? No, but I do want to share a few different bullet points like I just did earlier to kind of correct the narratives as like people say we're over analytically driven. Obviously I'd say that's not.
He's going to say it's not true. And now this is my favorite quote of the entire, and I mean this, the entire conference. My favorite one.
We have good people. I'm getting permission. So I think we have good baseball people, whether they're pro scouts, whether they're coaches, whether they're the manager, whether they're the general manager, whether they're analytics guys. I think we have good people. I'm getting permission requests all over the place. We just lost our bench coach to the Mets as a manager. I've got analytics guys trying to be poached to other clubs right now. Our player development program, no different than other places. But again, reinforcement that we got good people. I'm proud of our people, and I'm proud of our process. Doesn't mean we're firing on all cylinders, doesn't mean we're the best in class, but I think we're pretty good personally. And I'm proud of our people, and I'm also looking forward to 24 being a better year than 23. So
I think we're pretty effing good, actually. I'm sorry. Just gonna take a sec. Okay. I'm sure that you had people in the departments that were pretty effing good. And I'm sure all those people are being poached by other teams, which leaves behind the people that weren't pretty effing good. What is the logic of this statement? I don't get it. Listen, I understand that you're defending your guys, you're protecting your guys, you're not going to out anybody. It's the responsible thing as a sports, and again, as a sports manager of some kind, you got to be able to protect your guys. But in this specific case, I'm telling you right now, that was the worst kind of thing you could have done because now the scrutiny is going to go up. I think we're pretty effing good, actually. How deep do you have your head in the sand to not notice that you are an 82-80 team? Because the way the energy's coming up from Cashman contradicts what Hal said. Remember what I said about the contradictions? Hal says one thing. He says, we know we weren't that good last year. It was awful, this and that. And then Cashman's going to be talking about the personnel and staff he has, and he goes, I think we're pretty effing good, actually. What the hell is his disconnect? There's not supposed to be a disconnect. They got to be on the same page. So again, there's disconnect now in the front office because of this statement you're seeing it. That's telling me Hal doesn't have as much involvement in this as Cashman does. Cashman just leaves him out of shit. Are you kidding me? That's terrible. Terrible, terrible answer. I think we're pretty effing good, actually. Okay. Then why didn't you make the playoffs last year? Why did you go to the postseason? Why did you finish fourth in the division? And don't give me those, the other three teams were pretty good. No, you're the New York Yankees. You have a history of being a winning, successful team. You have a playoff record on your mantle. I mean, to literally written in your record, in your books, you are a postseason mastermind. You go 82-80 and have the second worst record in the division. To me, that's bullshit. So to say you're pretty effing good after finishing fourth in the division, I don't care what the other teams did. I don't care. Fact of the matter is you were the second worst team in your division, despite the fact you had a winning record. That doesn't fly. That doesn't fly. I know you're talking, as literally as the owner said, winning is a winning record is a requirement, not an accomplishment. And you're going, I think we're pretty effing good, actually. Injuries affected us. Okay, listen. I'll give you the excuse of the injuries because Montes was a freak one. So were some of the others. But you came in knowing Bader had injuries and you still went out there. You had Trevino have injuries starting spring training and he was hurt and you forced him to play. And then you kicked him out and said, you know what? Maybe we should let you get the surgery. So he misses the rest of the year when he could have came back late in the season to help him get a push. Are you kidding me? It's mismanagement's what it is. But I digress. But don't worry. I think we're pretty effing good. And I'm proud of my people.
Right? We've got to, like, so...
And now you're going to play victim. Watch this.
Doing something
in some of the
different
cases,
and more poorly.
I wouldn't say different. No, we're trying... One of the things we're victimized, in my opinion, is we're trying to go for it, right? We've got to, like, so back when we gutted the team on that year where I felt the team wasn't good enough and we traded a lot of veterans, got a lot of prospects to build back, and we created a whole new window, right? And that window is still open. Doesn't mean it's open big time. And, obviously with every year, there's a little attrition. It closes. Your competition gets a little better with the way the system's all set up. That takes the good teams from the high end, it drags them down. It takes the bad teams and drags them up with the draft picks and the international signings and all that stuff. We all know that. So we've been fighting to keep that window open, and we're fighting to get into the postseason and take our shot. So, for instance, Montas. When we were unable to get Castillo that year, we felt the second best pitcher on the market was Montas. It was a limited market. We went in, we got his medicals, we looked at him, we were scouting him. He broke. There was nothing in the medicals that said he had a bad shoulder at that point. It was actually cleaner than we thought. I've already spoken to this publicly. He broke. And then when he went and saw 3 different doctors, they said it wasn't going to need the surgery. He still broke, and he still needed the surgery. So, you know what? It sucked. It's a bad situation. If that's something that you want me to say that was a mistake, it turned out to be a mistake. I'm not sure what else in the process we could have done other than if I time zoned it back and knew what was going to happen, despite all doctors, and they're all the experts. We didn't have access to a player that's a pretty good pitcher. Now he's a free agent. He's going to sign a contract, whether it's here or somewhere else. And I guarantee he'll probably shove again, and so, but bad timing. I don't know what else to tell you, but if you want me to say it turned out to be a bad move, it was a bad move. But, and so I wish I could avoid those situations. If I could turn back and say, hey, man, I am sorry that we acquired Joey Gallo and he didn't play well for us. Yeah, I'm sorry he didn't play well for us, but it wasn't because he didn't try. It wasn't because we didn't, I don't know. It was a limited market. We're trying to win. We need a left-handed bat, and he was the one guy I could get that actually fit the bill. It is what it is. Otherwise, I don't know what to tell you.
All right, this is what I saved the Montes thing for. I saved it for this one specifically. The Montes trade. Here's why I freaked out about the Montes trade. I'm going to pull up the stats again. Let's go back to Baseball Reference real quick. Let's go back, right? Go back to Frankie Montes' numbers, right? We'll do that. I want you to all see something. This 2022 season, right? His overall averages fizzles out at a 405. I'm going to do a game log. I'm going to do game logs from 2022 so you guys understand what I'm talking about specifically. His time in Oakland, you've got 19 games you could list here to talk about. Here we go. Now, with these 19 games that he pitched, how many were in Oakland? These 2 in Oakland, his ERA drops because he's in Oakland. I don't know if anybody knows this weird stat about him, but in Oakland, he's one of the best pitchers in that ballpark altogether. There's an advanced stat talking about him in certain ballparks. And it's actually, it's kind of embarrassing if I'm going to put it in honest terms. Pitching splits in his career. I think that's where I got to go, the pitching splits. Let's see. Season totals, platoon splits, home or away. If they have it by ballpark, I'm going to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. Here we go. Let's go from the ballpark. Here we go. pitching in the Oakland Coliseum, right? In 2022, when they traded for him. We got the number. Okay? How about this for you? The two ballparks he pitches the best in were Tampa Bay, where the Tropicana Field is, in the Trop, in that Oakland Coliseum. Oakland was his favorite ballpark to pitch in. His ERA, he allowed a batting average of a 2.17 in that ballpark. They list the ERA down here. In Oakland, his ERA was a 2.36. His whole ballpark that he started 12 games in was a 2.36. It was a 2.36. What else am I supposed to say? The dude was a 2.36 in Oakland. He comes to the Yankee Stadium, the pitching Yankee Stadium. He's got a 5.4. He's got a 5.4. The dude, when he doesn't pitch in Oakland, sucks. He wasn't good. It's just terrible. We'll even just go to away games alone. I'm going to group it with just the away games. How about that? Just the away games. It's up here. It's up here. Let's do it. Okay. All right. So you go here, you go to the home or away, and you look at the pitching. On the road, his ERA was a 5.6. A 5.6. And his ERA in home, technically, is mostly Oakland. But in the games he pitched with the Yankees, it was a 5.6. I'm sorry, not a 5.6. It was worse than that. With the Yankees, his ERA was a 5.4. A 5.4 in New York, and his overall road was a 5.6. Are you kidding me? You should have known going into this that this was going to be bad. He can't pitch outside of the Oakland ballpark or outside of the Tampa Bay ballpark. And you did it anyway. If you look at that simple split, and it's not a crazy advanced stat, it's literally a pitching split. It's not even an advanced stat. It's there. And you didn't see it and say to yourself, you know what, maybe there's another pitcher available that we could have gone with that would have solved this problem. No, you went with the guy knowing this. It wasn't about the medical. You're focused on the medical, the shoulder. We don't care about the shoulder. I'm telling you, I knew from the beginning when this trade was made, this was a mistake because he can't pitch outside of Oakland. And you did it anyway. That was a dumb move, and you're not owning it. You're blaming it all on injuries again. And I'll give you this. He should have pitched this year. Right. He should have. He pitched one game. One game, and he lasted just over an inning. 4 outs he lasted. 4 outs. That was it. And then he was done. Like you said, freak injury, right? If he doesn't come back to the Yankees, he's right. He's going to go somewhere else and play really well. He's going to shove. So we'll see. The Yankees find a way to get screwed every time. So this will probably happen. Terrible, terrible answer. And with Joey Gallo, he's right. He's right about this. I'll give him credit. Gallo, you should have known. There was no way to predict what was going to happen with him. Okay, I said he wasn't they've been saying he wasn't a big, small ballpark guy. I'm not a big market guy, which is fine. You wanted to test the theory, so you tested the theory. He comes to New York. He bats 160 in 2021 after batting 223 in Texas. He wasn't a big contact hitter. He was just a big homer hitter. That's what he was. Then you come in 2022 and 82 games played with New York before going to LA. That man was batting a 159. He goes to the Dodgers, bats a 162. He goes to Minnesota, he's batting a 177, which is better than what he did since he was with the 2021 Yankees. But overall, he just hasn't been a phenomenal hitter. His average is still low. And for most of his career, it's been low, outside of the Texas All-Star nomination 2019. That's where we're at. And this should have been known. You wanted contact, but you went with power. And that's where it was wrong for you. That's where you went wrong with Joey Gallo. You lost Luis Castillo because you weren't aggressive enough. That's the answer. You weren't aggressive enough. And now he's going into the Gallo and Sonny Gray trades, calling him bad. This is even better.
Good.
Then later.
About the transactions. For 2 decades, your transactions were very good. The last 3 years, they have not been as good. You said you're doing self-reflection. What do you think?
Well, I get a kick out of like Joey Gallo gets named on, but since Joey Gallo left us, who's picked him up? 2 playoff teams. The Dodgers traded for us, and then the Twins, who just made the playoffs. Or Sonny Gray. He's currently in the competition for a Cy Young award, right? So it's interesting how they get written about these players. I get it, because whether they can play in New York or not, which is always a difficult thing. I don't care what anybody says. It's not easy to determine who can ultimately, especially with the amount of available player talent that you have that's at your disposal lately in the last, because I do believe, like, whether it's the last trade deadline, which was, I thought, the worst in terms of opportunities that existed since I've been GM, in terms of trying to go to marketplace to pull down this, that, or whatever. I feel like there's not as many choices over the coming. These aren't complaints. These are just my facts. And so you have to make decisions. You try to engage people. I feel like we got to adjudicate the Joey Gallo decision over and over again. We went all in. We were out of balance. We needed a left-handed bat. It was a very limited market. I had a guy that played with him on our roster at the time, the infielder that we got from Odor. Hey, man, what's he like? Can he play in New York? I think he'd be great here. He can handle it, blah, blah, blah. We do the cross-check. We talk to as many people as you can. You make a decision. Then you live with it. Didn't work out. But since that time, the Dodgers wanted them. And since that time, the Twins wanted them. So I get a kick out of how all of a sudden, it's decisions about players that are really good Major League Baseball players or potentially, helpful Major League Baseball players, and that we're dumb for getting them, and other people, obviously, they're not dumb. And
No, they are still dumb for... Okay. All right. This is probably one of the worst quotes of the whole thing. Probably one of the worst, if not the worst. And I'll tell you why. Let's go back to this statement here.
Joey Gallo gets named on, but since Joey Gallo left us, who's picked him up? 2 playoff teams. The Dodgers traded for us, and then the Twins, who just made the playoffs.
This is what I'm talking about. Who cares what he did outside of here? With other teams, he's still not playing well. The numbers were showing he wasn't hitting well. He was on a downward trend. You took him anyway. You put him on a bigger market team, he played worse. You put him on LA, he played the same in a big market team. He goes to Minnesota, plays a little better because they're a smaller market. But still, the point is, he wasn't hitting well. He's still not hitting well. You took him at a bad point in his career. He was doing okay because he kept hitting homers. When you can't hit the homers, you can't hit the ball. This is terrible. This is a terrible, terrible statement to defend it.
Sonny Gray. He's currently in the competition for a Cy Young award, right? So it's interesting how they get written about these players. I get it, because
Sonny Gray, for record, right? Sonny Gray. Let's give you this. Sonny Gray. Okay. I'm gonna entertain this guy. I'm gonna entertain. Okay, let's see what Pickles did. Because that's his nickname is Pickles. Great year, right? Great year he had. Great year. The Yankees picked him up after 2015, after a couple years separated from the 2015 All-Star year. We finished 3rd in Cy Young voting. 2016, bad year. 2017, he was having a decent year. He comes to the Yankees, 3.72. Okay, it was worse than what was expected. 2018, he had a bad year. 4.90 ERA is not good. Leaves, goes to Cincinnati. Has an all-star year in Cincinnati, finishes 7th in Cy Young voting in the National League. 2.87 ERA with Cincy. 2020 gets a little bit worse. ERA goes down by almost a full point. And in 2021 goes down again by almost a full half point. Then he goes to Minnesota the following year, pitches way better, back to a 3.08, and now he has another 2.79 season with Minnesota. So it's funny. He's technically right about the small markets. Sonny Gray could pitch in Oakland. He could pitch in Cincy. He could pitch in Minnesota. He couldn't pitch in New York. Oddly enough, he couldn't pitch. But again, he had that one outlier year, though, that was pretty bad, 2016 with Oakland. But outside of that one year, He's been pretty solid everywhere else outside of New York. So, I mean, listen. Sometimes you go to somewhere else, you do better. I get it. But you don't group him into this. You picked him up thinking, well, maybe he could play like a Cy Young for us. A year separated from having a 5 ERA season. And now that season, you picked him up when he's pitching just under a 4, which was fine at the time. It was 3.5, well below the league average, which is great. Wait, well above the league average, which is fine. But what I'm not getting, and I don't think anybody else is going to get this, it didn't work. So wherever you want to look at it, it just didn't work. At the time, it might have been a great idea because it was, maybe he's going to continue his positive trend and continue to improve. He goes like waves. He's like waves. You grabbed him when he was going down, 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 down. You thought the 5 ERA was the lowest. He was starting to trend back upwards. And then he started petering back down again in 2018. So you let him go rather than wait for him to come back up. And so the Reds capitalized, took it, and he went shoot right back up. Slightly down again, slightly down. Twins pick him up because the Reds let him go. Goes back up, he's now back at the top again. Now he's going to have a dip off next year, but you got to pick up on when the waves are. He obviously wasn't watching the trends of the wave. So you guys tell me. He's annoying me just purely for how bad this is. Here's another one. Cashman says Yankees. Okay, we get an update on what the Yankees actually
need. A chance to make it better.
What areas do you want to shore up at this point?
We need 2 outfielders because of Jason Dominguez.
I also like to apologize for making the show almost a whole 2 hours based on this alone.
Being hurt now, obviously, that doesn't help. So now I need a center fielder. I need a left fielder, preferably left-handed. If that's always try to reinforce our pitching. We have infield surplus. Do you try to find a lane to get Peraza involved, or I'm sure people will try to prey on that. We have Gleyber Torres in the last year of his contract. He had a hell of a year. He was our second best hitter last year, obviously behind Judge, and got to get Stanton up and running again. And hopefully, this past year, because the one thing he's injury prone. We all have lived and known that, but he's never not hit when he's playing, and this year is the first time that's happened. So, hopefully, find LeMahieu clearly in the last 2 months, I felt like started to feel like his old self. He was able to unpack some things with our strength and conditioning side. I think the previous winter he wasn't able to do as much that he could because of the foot and having to give it the time to heal, and so it's probably created a hangover into the season more than we expected. But I think he found a better spot towards the end, so hopefully we can count on him as we move forward. And I know our players are embarrassed. I know we're embarrassed, and we want to find a way to fight through it. But that doesn't mean these players aren't good, and that doesn't mean that we don't have a chance to make it better.
More pitching?
Always pitching. Always.
So pitching and outfielders are the next look. That's what the Yankees looking at next is pitching and outfield. And they have a surplus in the infield. And they also mentioned, do you try to find a lane to get Peraza involved because they have Gleyber in last year of his contract, means Gleyber could be expendable. So keep an eye out for that as well. I don't know why, but they were also asked about Ohtani.
And then ultimately,
considering the circumstances, would you be interested in Ohtani?
So I'm just trying to think what the free agent rules are right now. Sorry if I wasn't expecting individual outside organizational players now. We're going to be interested in looking at everything that's available that can make us better. And then ultimately, Hal Steiner will make final calls on what those price tags are and how they would fit. So,
are there rules against you talking about specific free agents?
No, it just, with everything we're just talking about, I just got caught up. Yeah, I got a brain freeze on it. And sorry. So, obviously he's a great player. We all know that. And so, we will certainly have discussions and find out what's workable and what's not, and what's obtainable and what isn't. So,
considering the circumstances, would you be interested?
So, in short, they're going to look at everything. They're going to try to spend a little more money this year, but let's see if they actually spend it on the right things.
Am I missing the young players who are coming up who
with
are
the Yankees
offensively succeeding in the major leagues?
So you're saying that we can't produce major...
I'm not saying you can't. I'm asking, you described it as indisputable.
Oh, yeah, this is great. That's great.
Like the ultimate...
So this is the reporter that he's having a dispute with is Joel Sherman, by the way. He has back and forth about Anthony Volpe's 2023 offensive season, the Yankees player development issues, which we just spoke about. I told you guys The last time they developed somebody like Judge, the closest they got was Dellin Betances. And most of these players are from 2009, 2010 getting developed in their minor league system. And the closest you get to a modern one is Gary Sanchez, who's no longer on the team and is a journeyman catcher at this point. So you can't name one.
Maybe you're making a point and a half of
other young
others.
players come up and succeed in the major leagues. Am I missing the young players who are coming up who
With
are
the Yankees.
offensively succeeding in the major leagues?
So you're saying that we can't produce major.
I'm not saying you can't.
He didn't say that.
You described it as indisputable. I'm asking you where, ultimately.
But the example you want to say right now is Volpe, I guess, and Cabrera. Those are the two, right? Peraza.
Like if they were performing, they would have kept getting more at bats. They didn't perform, and they didn't.
But
he's right. They didn't perform. They didn't get more at bats. They didn't have more time on the roster and didn't see more time on the field. Outside of Volpe, I mean, Volpe saw the field almost every game because he was starting shortstop and he won a Gold Glove because of it.
Peraza's not getting everyday reps. He's
Right.
got Glaber. He's got Volpe now. He's got LeMahieu. Prior to that was Donaldson. There was not a lane for him to even play. So I don't even know why you used Peraza.
He said there wasn't a lane for him because Donaldson was included in that. Did you guys catch that? He included Donaldson in this. Let's take a look at Josh Donaldson's numbers, shall we? Again, I have no hate against him at all. No hate for any of these players. Nothing. I just don't like people who act incompetent or sound incompetent. I hate it. With the Yankees in his entire career, those 2 years, when he probably 2022 and the midseason trade and the midseason after 33 games where they let him go, this man finished with an average of a 207. It is the lowest average he had outside of Milwaukee where he was this year for the second half. He hit how many homers with the Yankees? He hit 25 homers, 77 ribbies in 2 seasons with 584 at-bats. This is terrible numbers, everybody. These are bad numbers. But he's justifying that he didn't have a spot in the roster because, Donaldson was hitting. Donaldson was hurt. Let's get that out of the way. The dude was hurt. 33 games, the guy was battling injury back and forth. You couldn't find a spot for DJ, who was struggling to hit by the midpoint of the season. Dude was hitting a 142. So don't sell me that line of crap. The truth is, Peraza, you didn't want to give him a fair shake. Let's call it what it is. Let's call it what it is. You started DJ at first more than you did him at third. Don't even give me that. And I probably have the number to prove it. He probably started LeMahieu more at first this year than third because of Rizzo's injuries. I mean that. Here we go. Games by position. Let's do it. He played almost about the same at third as he did at first. 69 to 56. So more time at third this year, but because of the injury, they had to move him to first. Again, he played third because of the injury. So he moved in there, moved Glaber, kept Glaber at second. Glaber was coming off the bench at one point, by the way. Glaber was coming off the bench. That's the problem. I think Glaber came in starting and he played great. So they figured out that they have a second baseman in Torres. They have a shortstop in Volpe. They got a first baseman maybe in Rizzo if he ends up being okay. And then in terms of the third base spot, you got LeMahieu. Okay, great. Fine. But there was no need for Donaldson. Why argue that Peraza doesn't have a spot because of Donaldson? His name didn't need any part of the mention. Not even close.
Well, these are your young players.
I understand that, but he's got to have a spot to play for you to be able to use
Well,
his
if he
name.
would have hit, he would have played more. He didn't hit, so he didn't play more, right?
Well, where's he going to play?
Well, if he hit, he would have played.
Who would he?
If he hit, he would have played. And he goes, well, whose spot are you putting him in front of? Whoever wasn't hitting, he goes in. How easy is this? And he said, but he's not playing. Yeah, exactly. You don't play the young kids. You don't figure out what you have. Done.
If he hit, like this is Abbott Costello. If he hit, who's he taking out? LeMahieu at third? Is he taking out Volpe at short? Is he taking out Glaber Torres, who was one of the best second basemen in the American League last year?
If you want to win, you're going to play the guys who are hitting. If he hit, he would have played, right?
I guess if he hit better than Volpe, he would have played shortstop, and he would have won the thing out of spring training. But Volpe won it out of spring training. I think it's a stupid discussion that we're having, personally. I think our player development system, all that matters from my end to you is I think our player development system does a great job. You're questioning whether it does. That's your job to do. proof will be in the pudding. Let's see how. So if Volpe kinds up crushing it this year, are you going to be like, hey, I guess their development system does produce hitters?
I reviewed the movies in front of me. The movies this year weren't good.
Okay,
if
so
the movies are good next year, we'll have a different discussion.
All right, and then I can hear you say, you know what? Remember last year? I look forward to that. I look forward to you telling me that when Volpe crushes it offensively this year for us, that you'll say, hey man, I guess your development program did a good job. And it was just sea legs under him his first maiden voyage year with not much triple A under his belt. I mean, I feel it's pretty basic.
I can't. It's like he's sitting on a pedestal thinking he knows more and better than everybody else. That's what's killing me with Cashman right now. I can't. This is the problem. It showed off his arrogance. That was the issue with this. It shows his arrogance. And off you go here.
Dead on arrival, why our season got derailed. If you don't make that a significant reason, it is.
Injuries he's
you want to
talking
say
about.
It's an excuse? It's a fact. You want me to sit there and say essentially that that didn't happen and us missing certain guys along the way didn't affect us on the win column? Like, I can't do that.
I don't think anybody disputes that it didn't have a significant impact. What I'm asking is, besides underperformance and injuries, what else did you guys conclude?
Yeah, but I already told you I'm not going to tell you what else was going on in that meeting. So you're asking me to put you in that room. I'm not doing that, which I already said in the beginning of this. So we had organizational meetings. They did get heated. We had a lot of discussions. Some stuff we agreed on, some stuff we disagreed on, and we unpacked a lot of different stuff. Some of it we're making some adjustments. Some of it we actually recommitted to. So I don't know what else to tell you. And again, I go back to it doesn't matter what I say, and it doesn't matter what Hal says. It doesn't matter what Boone says. It matters what we do, because at the end of the day, it's all about wins. It's all about the win. Dead on arrival, why our season...
It's all about the win. Yeah, you're right. You're right. About winning the whole thing. Always is. But here's the thing. Your injuries weren't the main... You want to call it a reason? Yeah, sure. It's a reason. It's not the most important reason, because without the injuries, you were still not hitting in the first 60 games. You still were not hitting. Then Judge got hurt. Then you really weren't hitting because Judge was covering up whatever hitting issues you had. You take out the top three in your order, and you're... Ooh, excuse me. Sorry, guys. You take out the top three in your order, and your hitting is among the worst in all of baseball. Then Judge gets hurt. Now everything is out on the table. Everybody can see what happened. That's the problem that you have here. First of all, I don't even think Judge was supposed to play this year. I think he should have sat out the year anyway to heal up and properly get better. Instead, I think they rushed him back out there to make him go play. And that's the problem also. You don't rush a guy back like that. I respect him because he's captain. He probably wanted that, but that's not the smart thing. He needed to really rest. But you know what? Fine. Injuries are a reason, but you weren't hitting before the fact. So it's a dumb excuse. You can't make that the cop-out. Talks about Garrett Cole. We're not even going to talk about that. That's the last quote. So what do we take away from this, people? What do we take away? I'm asking all of you. What is your takeaway from these questions? From these press conferences? To me, it's a disconnect between the manager, well, not even the manager, from the general manager and the owner. I see a disconnect. Nobody's on the same page. Nobody. There are things he said, that Hal said, that didn't line up with Brian's attitude. There are things that Hal talked about where he said this was an issue we needed to win, and Brian's like, well, I think we were pretty effing good. And it's like, no, that's not how this works. You can't sit here and act humble and aware of what went wrong last year and still go out there and act like nothing happened. That's not realistic. It never is. It's arrogance and just completely being oblivious to whatever happens around you. It's like seeing a burning building and hearing somebody scream help and saying, oh, there's a fire. Like, come on. It's not that hard. I think if Brian had more vulnerability, willing to admit more mistakes, take accountability for the problems, this would have been much better for the fans. They would have been much better off. And in the end, it's just the interviews. The Yankee media interviews you saw show one thing. There is discourse in the organization, and they don't want to talk about it. They're going to try to act like everything's fine, but as you saw in these two meetings, There's two different stories being told. So everything is in question now for the Yankees. You are watching and viewing possibly the death of an organization. You might have to get prepared because we might have 80s Yankees baseball. Which, in case you guys don't know, the Yankees didn't win any title in the 80s. That's really, if I'm correct, that's the story. I'll tell you guys in a sec. Yankees, if I'm correct, they didn't win a single World Series in the entire 80s, and they were abysmal. Abysmal. I'll give you guys the number in one moment. Let's get it. Yeah. Between 1996 and 1978, this team did not win a World Series. This franchise did not win one. And it was actually kind of embarrassing because the main player in 96 that was considered the best that year was Andy Pettitte by a good margin. In 1979, it was Ron Guidry. Keep in mind, after this, the Yankees were pretty rough. They were a pretty rough team. In 81, they were 59-48 and lost the World Series. That was the last time they appeared in the World Series was 1981. That year, Dave Righetti was the top player for them. Now we continue. 79 and 83 and 82. 83, they were 91, 71. 87, 75. 97, 64. 90 and 79. 89, 73. 85, 76. 74 and 87. 67 and 95. 71, 91. 76, 86. 88, 74. 70 and 43. Those were their records on their way into finally making it back to postseason. They didn't touch postseason from 1981 until 1995. It's actually embarrassing to read the numbers. You know, they're losing records. They had 1, 2, 3, 4. They had 5 seasons of a losing record in that span. And just like we talk about now with the Yankees having a winning record, treating it like it's a requirement, right? That's the right way to think about it if it's how. A winning record's a requirement. It should be a given to have a winning record. But it should be even more of a success and accomplishment to go to the World Series. And they didn't have that this year. This was the first time the Yankees missed the postseason since 2016. And that team went 84 and 78. Now, if you go off the Pythagorean win-loss percentage, it's based on an estimate of like the team's win-loss percentage based on the runs scored and runs allowed by the team. Based off that statistical percentage, this is what it should have been. The Yankees this year should have had a 4.83 win-loss percentage. 4.83. For the record, 4.83 would be the worst that they've had since 1969. Well, no. Actually, maybe not. Off that Pythagorean, off that theorem, I'm going to say theory. Off of that Pythagorean win-loss system, it would have been the worst since 2014 when they projected was supposed to be a 4.78, and they finished with a 5.19, which was a couple games higher than the 2013, than the 2023 team. I don't even know. And that year was the Gardner being the best player and Joe Girardi still managing. So, I mean, this is what I'm trying to communicate to you guys. This is a serious, serious problem. And they're not owning their BS and their problems that they've made. That's the issue here. Now, give me 1 second. I've got to take a call real quick. We'll be right back. Sorry about that, everybody. That was an important call I had to take. So, once again, you're going through the win-loss records, the Pythagorean win-loss theorem here, Pythagorean win-loss percentage. I got to remember that metric. That's actually a very good metric. I like it. And you go back, you just read through this. It's actually ridiculous. So the attendance this year, by the way, for the Yankees was 3.2 million, like about 3.27 million. I'm going to round it up. With this number, with 3.27 million, this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17th highest attendance numbers in the team's history. The 17th highest. The record still for the highest attendance is 2008 in the old ballpark, its final year, with a 4.3 million. Now, in terms of the new ballpark, the numbers were pretty high early on, and then just up to this point, it's really dropped. These were the lowest numbers they've had since. It looks to be they were higher than 2022, which is funny because they had that big year in 2022 and made to ALCS, and they just not as many people showed up, not as many, which is again ridiculous, but it happens, you know. But again, like I said about these records here, you go through this Yankee information, and I'm going back to the win-loss percentage. What's killing me is this team should not have been this bad. And they were terrible. I'm reading through all the numbers as we're talking. And you want to talk about bad. You want to go through those 80s teams. Their top guy to start out in 82 was Gossage. You saw Guidry. You had Mattingly. You had Ricky Henderson still. You had Steve Sachs. You had Roberto Kelly. You're talking about Melito Perez, Jimmy Key, Wade Boggs, all those guys on these teams. And all those managers, too. Don't forget about them, too. I mean, during that span, you still had Bob Lemon, Gene Michael, Clyde King, Billy Martin, Yogi Berra, Lou Piniella, Dallas Green, Bucky Dent, Stump Merrill, Buck Showalter. That's what they went through with all these guys. And it's actually sad to go through these and just be like, wow, this is what this team became. And yeah, look, during this span, these guys, like I said, they only had a losing record. Let's see how many seasons. 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94. You're talking about 17 seasons here. Somewhere around 17 total, right? Wait. Wait, no, 13 seasons. 13, my bad. 13 seasons total, 1982, 1994. In that span of 13 seasons, you had how many losing? You had 5 seasons with a losing record. So you're 8-5 technically in terms of winning seasons in that span. But you didn't make the playoffs once. I want that to be known. They didn't make the playoffs once. 94 we can't really count because that was the year of the strike. They had to shut down baseball. Can't count it. But they were doing really well that year. They had that was Buck Showalter's one of his best years as their manager. And they just fell short because of that strike. They probably would have won the World Series too. You go down the rest of the way, and in the other divisions, it's kind of sad. You start going through it, and you're wondering, what is this team? And there was some really, really bad moments. Really bad. But it's just going to show. The team can finish with a winning record. But they can't make the postseason, so it's a failed year. You have to make the postseason. Plain and simple. Am I wrong? By any means, you guys are free to tell me if I'm wrong. You have to make the postseason regardless. No excuses about it. You have to make it. And they weren't doing that. And if the Yankees continue this trend of, we had a winning record, so I think we're pretty effing good, you're going to go right back to that 80s style again. And you don't want that. You don't want to go back to the way they were in the 80s. It's not a fun time. So that's the energy you're getting from the media interviews. I hope it gets better. We'll see what happens with that organization. But this moves now into Thursday Night Football. The Thursday Night Football preview tonight is Panthers and Bears. We'll make it quick. I've got the Panthers winning tonight. I love Bajent. I like what they got going on over there, but I think that the advantage is on their side. I've got for bets tonight, Adam Thielen touchdown scoring. I do have, I believe, 200 plus passing for Bryce Young, and I have the under for Tyson Bajent's passing yards. So those are my main three I have, and I'm taking the Panthers to win, so I'll also go money line. That's my parlay. So that's how I feel about it. There are some other things that could happen. Let me give you guys a good feel for what I'm thinking. Let me pull it up. I'll do more justice than that. So in tonight's Thursday Night Football game, Panthers-Bears, 8:15 Eastern on Prime Video. Panthers-Bears, 1-7, 2-7. It's a very bad matchup, but you know what? There's always a bet here you could always capitalize on. As you go through this, Bears are favored with the -3.5. I just think Carolina's got an advantage here. Personally, I think they can capitalize here. I mean, if the Bears win, it can boost their odds. I mean, it's a win-win. If you win, you boost. If you beat the Carolina Panthers, you boost your chances at getting the number 1 overall pick in the draft. It's unusual, but it's because the Bears find themselves heading into this matchup. I mean, here's why. Because Chicago has Carolina's first-round draft pick next year. And the Bears also have their own pick. So with the Bears and the Panthers, the Bears own both of the picks. So they are in a really good spot of rebuilding. So beating the Panthers would actually help them to make the Panthers worse and keep them in the number 1 spot, while they can still be in the top 5. So it's actually really a big advantage for them. Where even if they lose the game, they're still in the top 3 with both picks. So it's fine. But again, this is an interesting scenario. Interesting. So both teams can win, but for Chicago, Fields isn't playing. It's going to be Tyson Bagent again. Fields will likely play next week. And for Carolina, Bryce Young is rebounding from his worst game as a pro, last week's loss against Indy. He had a really bad game. I think he could pull it off. There are some defensive injuries to talk about. Carolina's got a lot of injuries all season, and they're even thinner now because Brian Burns can't play after a concussion. Actually, you know what? If that's the case, I take it back. Bears win. Bears win. I take it back. If that secondary, if they're really banged up as bad as they're saying, Chicago's the point. Okay. So we're going Chicago money line, Adam Thielen touchdown. And I think I said Tyson Bagent. I'll say his passing yards are over whatever it's projected. Whatever it is, it's over. I switched it. There we go. That's my parlay now. And secondary for Carolina is also not going to have C.J. Henderson, who, like Burns, is still in the concussion protocol. J.C. Horn's been on IR since week 1, is still not ready to return yet. But Young has been having a really bad start to his career. Still got one of the worst QB ratings in the NFL as a rookie. And he threw 3 interceptions, including 2 pick-sixes by the same cornerback, Kenny Moore of the Colts. And this was against the league's 32nd ranked defense. And that's the Colts we're talking about. They have the worst defense in the league. What's also killing Chicago is that they've got a league-low 10 sacks where they just acquired Montez Sweat. He didn't have much of an impact against New Orleans in his debut, but he should be more comfortable and adjusted to the playbook and all defense this week, whatever they have planned. So keep an eye on that. But Thielen is going to be going up against the Bears, who he's faced a lot of times in his career at 33 years old. With the Vikings, he faced them plenty of times. He knows how the Bears work. He should have a good day against them. We'll see what happens. But here's the issue. He also hasn't had much success against them in the 10 years he was with the Vikings. It was mostly because he's never had more than 68 yards receiving in a game against Chicago. I still think he gets a touchdown, though. Whatever it is, that's how I feel. So, yeah, this is a tough game. Chicago favored 3.5 on the spread. I won't bet spread. I'll say moneyline Chicago and Thielen touchdown and Bagent over the projected passing yards, whatever it may be. Granted, Chicago still has injuries of their own, but they're working through it. So, I'm taking the Bears here over Carolina. It'll be a close game, but that's where we're at. So that's your quick preview of the Thursday Night Football game. Let's go to hockey real quick, make this real quick, because again, I know we're at 2.5 hours here. I'm trying to get this done ASAP. Edmonton, Jack Campbell's on waivers. He was not having a good year at all. He was proven to be a real bust for them. It's a really bad year. A really bad year. because the Oilers have been slumping hard. This preseason, Edmonton was projected to go to the Stanley Cup as contenders. They now have the second worst record in the NHL. Campbell's on waivers for the purpose of assignment with the intent he'll play for their AHL affiliate, which is the Bakersfield Condors. So they got to get his consistency back. He doesn't have that this year. And it's been a big issue for Edmonton as a whole, as a unit, through the first 11 games. The only team that have a worse record than the Oilers were the San Jose Sharks, who were 0-10-1 prior to that. They actually got their first win, I believe, against the Flyers. Campbell, in this time frame, is 1-4 with a 4.5 goals against average and an .873 save percentage. Not good numbers at all as a goalie. His only win he got was in a 6-1 victory over Nashville that saw him finish with 43 saves. It was the only game where he recorded a save percentage that was higher than .900, which is, again, terrible. What's even worse is that against Nashville, he had a record. He actually had 5 goals on 34 shots, which, again, that was just not good in his most recent performance. Now, here's something that's interesting. Back in 2022, the Oilers reached the conference finals where they lost the Avalanche, went to the Stanley Cup and won. Oilers used the offseason to sign Campbell to a 5-year deal worth $5 million, thinking that Campbell would be the goalie who helps them reach the final. His first season also had inconsistency, but in that while he won 21 games, he also finished with career worst 3.41 goals above average. I think it's... Wait, was it goals above average I said? Yeah, goals against average. And a save percentage of an .888. He worked in tandem with their rookie Stuart Skinner, to help the Oilers finish second in that division, the Pacific. Campbell, being Skinner's backup, was used in relief on 4 occasions, where he posted a 102 goals against average and a .961 save percentage in a little more than 29 minutes. He did a great job in relief, and they ended up sticking with Skinner because it raised some questions, and then they got eliminated in the second round by the Golden Knights, who ended up becoming the defending Cup champs now. They entered this year with a Stanley Cup contender idea now that, even though it's competitive with the Stars and the Kings being involved in some capacity now, being favorites, along with the Avalanche and Golden Knights as presumed favorites to go to the Cup and win. But now with the 3 straight losses, and with Tuesday being 6 points out of a wildcard spot, at a time when teams that aren't within striking distance struggle to reach the playoffs, and this is around by Thanksgiving at this point, so they really need to make a quick change. Their decision was to send Campbell to AHL. And the Kings did the same thing last year with Cal Peterson, because they signed him to a 3-year, $5 million year last year. They signed him to that kind of deal. And he started that season with a .532 record with a .375 goals against average and a save percentage of an .868. So he also was doing bad. He stayed with the AHL the rest of the season before he got traded to the Flyers as part of a 3-team deal with Columbus. So who knows? Maybe Jack Campbell gets traded, but they put him down there to see if he can improve and get better. Now they got to use a backup goalie again to try to solve their problems. This was just really bad for Edmonton. It proved to be a really bad deal. And, part of me feels bad, but on the other hand, I just don't want to see a Canadian team win the Stanley Cup. I just don't. So I'm kind of upset. I'm also not upset. It's weird. So now the new goalie that'll be in, now that they put Campbell on waivers to go down to the AHL, would be Skinner. Would be Skinner again. Skinner has to take over. They also have Calvin Picard, who could replace him as well as a backup. And they also have Ryan Fanti up. So they're going to try other goalies, see how that works out, see if they can get things corrected. Again, they do play tonight. They're going to play the Sharks at 10:30 Eastern. So keep an eye out for that. And the last game they played was the Canucks, which was last night. And in that one, the Canucks ended up beating them. Was it last night? Was it last night? No, 3 nights ago. 3 nights ago, Edmonton played Vancouver, and Vancouver beat them down pretty hard. Skinner was the goalie in that one, too. 6 goals allowed on 36 attempts, only 30 saves. He had a pretty bad performance as well. Oilers just getting crushed left and right. Can't catch a break. Cannot catch a break. And then the Preds game, I believe they said, was the last one that that the man appeared in. So that game was the last one that you saw the appearance of Campbell in. And hopefully that changes moving forward. And Campbell gets some things figured out. I hope to see him back in. He actually is a very good goalie when he's on his game, on his A game. But he's been really off lately. And that brings us to our final topic overall to end this one. MLB manager updates. We've had a lot of managerial moves happen. Yesterday, Ron Washington to the Angels, shockingly, might bring on Torrey Hunter as one of his coaches. Very interesting. Give some experience to the legend. Giving experience to a baseball legend. Be great to see. We'll see what happens. Ron Washington hasn't managed in 10 years since he was with Texas and they made the World Series and fell short. But he's ready to manage again after doing a lot of bench coaching work in Atlanta. So let's see what development comes up, see how much better he gets. Let's also add in the... Last time we were live, we had the stuff with Craig Counsell going on. We didn't know where he was going to make an announcement. It was really dramatic. We didn't know what was happening. It turns out Counsell went to the Cubs. He went to a team that already had a manager. So they fired David Ross, who no longer has a job, and they gave it to Counsell. So Counsell now runs the Cubs. Big bombshell. Didn't see it coming. Nobody saw it coming. Mendoza, we talked about, went to the Mets, former bench coach of the Yankees. That's interesting to talk about. So the Mets have a new manager as well. Still some teams to talk about. We're trying to see what the Padres do. Preller's supposed to be making an announcement sometime soon on who their new manager will be. If I can get an answer for you now, I will try. Let me see if we got any updates I can give you at all. Let me take a dig and see if there's anything here for new managers. Yeah, I got nothing. I got no managers. Check one more time. Yep. No update there, but I will tell you that as for everything else, that keep an eye on Trevor Bauer in baseball, trying to make his pushback. He's at the meetings as well, trying to see if any teams will take a risk on him and bring him back in. We'll see what happens with that. I'm not too confident, but a lot of things could happen. A lot could happen. So that's really that. In terms of other managerial openings, I believe the Giants one is filled. We talked about. I'm going to look at the carousel, see what's going on in the manager carousel. So, in terms of who's still open, there was another one. Stephen Vaught, the former two-time All-Star catcher in the major leagues, is now managing the Cleveland Guardians, which is very interesting to think about. I didn't expect that move to really happen, if that's a good way to put it. I'm still looking for the 2020. I'm seeing stuff for 2020. I'm trying to see what's going on with the 2023. Okay, we have a manager tracker. So, Ron Washington goes to the Angels, we talked about. As we go to the bottom of everything else besides Washington, Craig Counsell was hired by the Cubs. Melvin accepted the Giants job, so now the Padres have an opening. They're going to be making an announcement soon on what they're doing. Peter Bendix is going to be running the baseball ops department for Miami. Epler resigned from his GM role with the Mets. Boone is returning in 2024. Bob Melvin was ready to talk about him going somewhere else. Let's see what else. Mendoza, we talked about, has been hired. So Mendoza's the Mets skipper now. We still have a couple openings. I'm going through more of them. We still have an opening with the Astros. Astros haven't picked their replacement yet. We talked about Stephen Vaught taking over in Cleveland. So we still have some openings here. Specifically, if I go through the divisions, I'm going through in my head. So they're still looking for a new manager in Houston. They are looking for one in San Diego. I can't remember the other ones. I really can't. It's really killing me. I'm going to say manager openings. That's how I get the proper answer that I'm looking for. Brewers. There we go. Brewers. So the Brewers are looking for a manager. The Astros are looking for one. The Padres are looking for one. So we've got 3 openings right now that we see. I I think everything else has been filled at this point. I'm going to confirm that right now. Yeah, so the Astros we already said. The Brewers we said. Padres we said. And that's it. That's all that's left now. Astros, Brewers, Padres, and the Angels just took Ron Washington. So they are in a good spot. Okay, and that'll do it. That's all the updates we have. There's still 3 more openings left. We'll see what happens. Preller hasn't made an announcement yet, but I guarantee you, like it always has, breaking news will happen after we hang up the stream and you'll get an answer. So we'll see. Keep your eyes out on Twitter or X and every other news source to see what happens. But that's going to do it for the show today. Thank you all for tuning in. As you guys saw, this was mostly a Yankee media show. I just had to do it. It was really, really annoying me badly, and we just had to do it. We had to cover it. So, again, thank you all so much for tuning in, staying with me for damn near 3 hours now. But again, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. We'll be back again, I believe, tomorrow night. We're going to figure this out. We're going to try to do something tomorrow night. I think we're going to do a show tomorrow night just to do like predictions and stuff for the NFL and for college football, what to watch, stuff like that. We'll do the usual stuff there. But until then, thank you guys so much. Consider following us on Twitch if you haven't followed already. If you're watching this on Twitch, give us a follow. We are 4 away from hitting 20 followers here on Twitch. And we are, if you're watching us on YouTube, there we go. Watch this on YouTube. Please consider subscribing. We have some content we're working on today. I'm going to start taping part 2 today of our college football imperialism video. And then we're going to also try to do part 3 as well. Once we do that, then we'll be able to group this all together and make a big episode. I mean, we'll start making the series out starting Monday. Monday, we'll have the first episode out. We're going to do them every Monday and Friday, new episodes, so you guys have something to look forward to start the week and end the week. But until then, thank you all so much for tuning in. Back tomorrow night. Enjoy some basketball tonight. Enjoy some hockey. Enjoy some Thursday night football. We'll see you guys soon. Have a good one, everybody.